Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Vainglory Invitational Series here. VIS Pro bring you guys exciting matchups as we start the second day of quarterfinals and finish up this final week here in the summer season. I'm your host, Dragonborn, and joining me today, it is the Nominee and Sean Estido, our casters, to help break down the matches and get us into the action. And of course, we've had a lot of action here so far at the VIS desk. The Nominee, boy, you've been here every single day, every single night, breaking down these games for you. Let's talk a little bit about what's happened and how we got to where we are here at the second day of quarterfinals.
Yeah, it's been an exciting ride so far. I don't think we really had too many upsets so far. There was maybe you could consider one. But overall, they've been some pretty fun and exciting games to watch. And tonight, we should have Rogue versus Infinity Rebirth is one of the games we should be getting into, as well as Hammers versus Necrolite will be our first matchup for tonight. So definitely got some fun games ahead of us. Again, these are there is no TSM or Cloud9 in this tournament, so this is a pretty sizable chance for Rogue, Immortals, Hammers, Necrolite, Infinity Rebirth, all of them really, to have a pretty fair chance going in.
Yeah, so, yesterday we had the first day of quarterfinals. Immortals just dismantled Tribe Gaming, and then it's kind of not surprising, but, very close matchup. Those games were definitely close day. Gangstars fell to Echo Fox in 2-0 fashion, as Echo Fox has moved, of course, to the semifinals to face Immortals, and that's going to be taking place tomorrow. Today, we talked about Hollywood Hammers versus Necrolite. That's going to be our first matchup. Rogue versus Infinity Rebirth going to be our second. But let's talk a little bit about the one that's going to be happening right now. Hollywood Hammers, Necrolite going head-to-head. Tell me a little bit about these two rosters. There's a little bit of pass for both of them. Obviously, Hammers really improving at the end of the VG8 season. Going from being the last seed, they were at third place for a while, then dropped back down to sixth place, but still feeling pretty good about their overall season as they moved through and were able to secure that live final spot.
Yeah, it's definitely been looking good for them as far as the VG8 goes. They did come into the VIS pretty sloppy, though. So it's going to be interesting to see if they bring their A game here today. Obviously, Necrolite having picked up Lightning T, there's definitely a opportunity where this could be a very strong team, and if Hammers doesn't play at their best, this could be a Necrolite game ahead of us.
It could be, depending on how Hammers shows up. Of course, looking at the rosters, there might be, for game one at least, some player availability issues. We may not see Archaic play. We may see, actually, Polly step in for Jungle or Afro, one of those two. We're going to have to wait and just kind of see how that plays out. I mean, that would be a huge impact, at least for game one. Necrolite definitely could take advantage of that, but standing solo, Lightning T, these are two guys who've been playing together for a long time, and they've really got some good synergy. And, Lightning T has been that super hard carry as well. Nominee, is this the guy that's going to be able to take Necrolite and just repeat the performance they had when they were in Challengers a season ago?
Well, realistically, Lightning T has done a great job on every team that he's been on. I do think he has a lot of synergy with standing solo, particularly, which makes it that much more interesting of a roster. But FPG has also had some really good performances as well. Been really dominating Idris so far, so definitely something to look forward to.
Absolutely. It'd be some good matchups. I think, though, when we take a look at the Hammers roster, there's some really strong talent that's been on here, and we can't really say for sure if Archaic will play game number one. But one thing I can tell you is that starting all over, he's been that reliable laner. He's been such a dominant player for so long, and is really going to be someone we want to be able to focus on and watch. You definitely want to watch these games. Now, the player to watch, I would say, is starting all over, but we can't really search him since he did go through a bit of a player name change, which means technically, what is that, Blaziken?
Yeah, Blaziken, Polly, and then Archaic should be here in just a second.
Well, I mean, he would be our player to watch if we could pull up that name, but unfortunately, it's not the case. So we'll have to.
Little heads up for all the people out there, the pro players that are known. If you change your name, someone is very likely waiting to take it. Just a heads up.
Yeah, probably shouldn't do that. Probably not a good idea. It's a bad idea.
Yeah, it's happened to a couple players in the past now. It's happened to Joseph and starting.
All right, well, we are just about ready for this matchup, everybody. We're going to take a very quick break. When we come back, we're going to be getting into game number 1 of this exciting series. And this one could be really close. We'll have to see who shows up in Hammers versus Necrolite. We'll be right back after the break, everyone.
Ben, Sam, and Ken are on separate journeys to defeat the menacing Vile Dragon. But let's just say luck isn't on their side. If only there was a way for them to find each other and band together. Well, that's why there's Band. It's a mobile app that allows people to come together using common interests. With Band, you can find fellow gamers, chat, schedule gaming sessions, and conduct polls. Stage epic battles with friends while sharing videos and photos along the way. So try Band today. Band. Be together.
The draft begins.
Well, welcome back, everybody. As we look to get into the draft, we're going to jump right into it, get into all the action. As we don't want to delay any further, Hollywood Hammers, of course, going to be here on A side to start things off as they start to work into some of that time for their first ban. To nominate, you know, we've seen a lot of slight meta changes in 2.7 as we've gone through this. This is the first official tournament on 2.7. What are some of the big things that you've noticed that have kind of stood out to you as shifts in the meta from 2.6?
Well, we've definitely seen a couple players on Vox, obviously that Poison Shift Tension Bow build that was almost unbeatable for a lot of people. People have shifted into a little bit different of a build. It is pretty similar to the last first ban meta, though. Usually taking off one of those healers and a Catherine, and it is going to be the Lyra taken off, so that is going to allow Hammers to get the Grace. And although Grace did receive some nerfs, she's still pretty devastating, but a Baptiste comes through from the side of Necrolite, so a good flex pick.
Yeah, it's a good flex pick. We could see, curious to see possibly just now that Grace is picked, you really don't want to worry about roams here. Maybe a ban on a Glaive, or you're looking at Hammers and starting all over, and you definitely don't want to have to go up against a Kestrel. You don't want to have to deal with possibly a Glaive. I'm actually surprised they didn't ban the Glaive. Starting all over is a fantastic Glaive player, so we could see Necrolite pick that. Otherwise, Hammers could go lane Glaive, which is something we've seen them do a lot.
Yeah, that is if Necrolite doesn't decide to pick it up. It would be a good combination. The Celeste ban coming out of Necrolite is a little bit interesting. We know starting is a very good Celeste, but obviously that Crystal lane meta has fallen off pretty substantially, and Hammers is actually going to ban away the Glaive and not give it over to Necrolite.
Yeah. So I think that might actually be a smart call because, you know, Necrolite maybe didn't ban the Glaive so they could get the Glaive, seeing Celeste. Celeste got that stun. She can actually punish Glaive, so maybe hope... Necrolite, I think, was banking that they would at least get that. Now they have to get a laner. They are going to go with Scarf. Scarf jungle, surprisingly strong in this meta. As you see it rotate to the jungle, do a lot of damage, and even early on is able to be a pretty formidable foe in the jungle. So we see it played an awful lot.
Yeah, we definitely do, and I think that does kind of force the Baptiste into that captain position now. So revealing some of that, pick here. It is going to be a Kestrel, very likely for starting all over. It is one of his better heroes, definitely a game-changing hero when you do get ahead. So it could be flexed into the jungle. Just going to be interesting to see how it goes. Pretty good at poking out that Captain Baptiste, so that's a pretty sizable advantage here. But if engaged on heavily, or if Kestrel does catch a couple of those Spitfires in a goop, it can be pretty equally devastating because, you know, Kestrel's going to go very, very offensive with very limited defense.
Yeah, we've seen both Archaic and Starting All Over play strong Kestrels. We know they can do it, but likely we're going to see Archaic. Oh, actually, Ringo coming out here. This almost definitely is going to be a weapon Ringo in the lane played by Starting All Over. So that is going to be Archaic on the Kestrel.
Yeah, and I don't think we've seen Archaic play too much Kestrel, but it'll be interesting to see if he can bring that Crystal Kestrel online.
We see it some. I think he played
starting,
I think it's challenge battle.
Play. Yeah, he did play some. I think he's had some more success on a couple other heroes. Obviously, the Baptiste he's done pretty well on. The Kashka, definitely one of those really aggressive junglers for him, as well as even that Celeste, which did get banned away.
Right, and I think that's where the Celeste ban came through. Taka's going to be the final pick. This definitely is in response to trying to get on these squishier lane weapon heroes, but a little risky. You know, this is obviously going to be a CP Kestrel, so if Taka can get on to the Kestrel, likely going to be able to do a lot of damage. But, you know, Starting All Over's Ringo, it's one of his strongest, consistent laners. We see him play it so well, and it's actually been something he's played a lot in the 2.7 meta.
It absolutely has, and it's going to be pretty interesting to see going into this game because obviously the Taka will likely be a weapon-powered Taka since we have the Scarf. So that'll be pretty devastating if Taka is allowed to get an X-Retsu and a Chitin down onto that Crystal Kestrel. It's going to come down to Poli being good on this Grace and trying to get some good Divine Interventions off to remove some of that burst damage.
Oh, absolutely. I'm definitely excited. I love to see Baptiste roam, by the way. This is something that kind of came out of nowhere in 2.6. It's been a very strong flex pick, very similar to how Glaive was in 2.5, where, you know, you could go either way with it, and it's been one of those, the crowd control that Baptiste has is a very unique crowd control day, so definitely going to be excited to see this match. We actually are just about ready to get into it, so I do want, of course, make sure I kick it over to our amazing casters, Denomine and Sean Estido, to get into this matchup here as we look to jump into it right now.
Alrighty, as we get the game started up here, it is going to be Hammers on the A side and Necrolite on the B side. And obviously, off the back of last week's questionable performance, Hammers is obviously going to be looking to take this team a little more seriously. We got a little bit more serious of a draft going on here, and starting getting on this Ringo is going to be a huge game changer for me. But Sean, what do we think we can see out of this Necrolite roster to try to take an edge over Hammers early?
Well, we definitely need to see a lot of aggression from the Baptiste. However, he is a squishier hero. It looks like there's an engage going on pretty early, though.
Yeah, there is a bit of a fight, and Poli looking like he might drop here. He is going to. That is going to be first blood going on over to the side of Necrolite. And now standing solo, this Captain Baptiste does so much damage in the early game. He might even be able to take down Starting, and he will. That is 2 kills going over to Necrolite in the first minute.
And that's the aggression that I was saying is one of their win conditions at Ender, and he actually goes down, unfortunately.
Yeah, but that is, you know, that is a little bit of an early edge, and actually a third kill also going on over to the side of NRG. So definitely taking that advantage early, using this Taka to their advantage. Obviously, Crystal Kestrel has to get some items before she really comes online, and the Scarf will be the same, but I think Scarf has a little more potential being in the lane, obviously, being able to play far back. And now it is Hammers rotating up underneath Stan Zolo.
Yeah, with standing solo there, one of the win conditions I'd like to see coming out of him are getting those Ordains down onto the Ringo, onto the Kestrel to go ahead and lock her down so she can't use any of her invis, her active camo to get out and disengage from fights. And in addition to that, I'd like to see the Taka just assassinating Blaziken, taking him down. Lightning T is going to be a little bit weaker. It looks like there's a little bit of a chase going here in the jungle.
Yeah, it does look like Pink is going to drop to Lightning T on this Taka. No energy, no health. That is a dead little archer there, and that is going to be a 4th kill going on over to the side of Necrolite. And Starting did get some good damage down onto FBG in the lane, but not quite enough. And now with standing solo up here, he is going to push the side of Hammers back. Good Ordained drop. And now FPG looking to get some more damage down onto starting. Standing solo chasing down that kill. Will he get it? He should be able to. He does. That is a big 5 kills going over to the side of Necrolite in under 3 minutes here. So really doing well here in the early game. And this is looking pretty bad for Hammers. And now Pulley rotating down. They find Archaic. Archaic missing a couple of those glimmer shots. Will they be able to find Lightning T? One more basic attack does do it, and now standing solo is left in a pretty dangerous area as well, and that might just be another kill going over to Hammers. And that is now a 3-5 game, 3 minutes in. Been a very aggressive game so far for both sides. We do have a slight gold advantage for the side of Hammers right now, but the backs are available to Lightning T, and FPG actually might get taken out here as well. He does.
Yeah, there's actually some good counter jungling going on for the side of Hammers. They were getting aggressed on pretty early, especially by standing solo. He was, at level 2. He's still at level 2 now, but the early game for Baptiste is really strong, like you were saying, especially with those Ordains and bad mojos. He's able to sustain pretty well by himself in this early game here. What I'm seeing coming out of Lightning T, he's actually going for it looks like he's going towards a tension bow here for his first tier 3 damage item, and that's actually going to be pretty good for a weapon-powered Taka.
Yeah, it definitely will. It'll provide a lot of burst, especially when hitting level 6. And now Archaic is caught out here in the jungle. Don't think he's going to make it anywhere, and that is another kill found for Lightning T. And Hammers is looking to get a return kill in the lane, but will they have enough? A potion might just save FPG's life, and starting is now going to drop as well. 7-5, 4 minutes in this game. This has been an incredible amount of aggression from both sides. So far, NRG has taken the lead in the kills. And they might even find Pulley here if he doesn't make it out. A bad mojo will spell the demise for the Grace. But Pulley coming up here just about 100 gold away from a fountain. Standing solo does have that fountain in his pocket. He did not use it on Lightning T, but a one-shot, one kill coming out of Archaic does find that kill there. So definitely a good shot there from Archaic. Lightning T's been doing a good job at stealing farm, but the clear from Kestrel has just been a little too quick.
Yeah, it has been really quick, and she's already got that Shattered Blast, so she's able to do so much burst damage here with the glimmer shots, with the one-shot, one kills. Lightning T, he's got that tension bow in his pocket, but here's the thing about Taka, is that he is pretty squishy, but he can sustain well as long as he's able to get those cocktails off and go in bids.
Oh, and Lightning T taking a massive amount of damage here. Will Archaic be able to find the kill? He does. Now he might find standing solo, too. Wow, the damage coming out of this Crystal Kestrel early is just absolutely amazing. That Shatterglass doing so much work.
Yeah, and she's done, Archaic's actually done the majority of kills on that Kestrel. 7 kills, 3 deaths. So we saw him being taken down pretty early game, and they're just sieging this turret so well right now. They're going to probably go ahead and clean it up and rotate down into the jungle.
Yeah, but Archaic is getting jumped on here. Will they find the damage? He gets the one-shot, one kill on Lightning T. They actually do find the kill, and now FPG is on the back foot. Will he be able to find the kill on starting? He does, but Pulley is going to come through with that kill onto FPG, and now it is just standing solo here. Archaic is very low. He does have to be careful. Bad mojo's coming through. Will they find this kill? Archaic solo. Last shot does find it. 11-9 for Hammers. Looking to steal away a little bit of this farm as well, and now they have to get out as they are dangerously low. And that scout trap is not going to get popped, it doesn't look like. Actually, Pulley is going to rotate back over and find it. So about a 2,000 gold lead now developed for Hammers.
Wow, those glimmer shots were just melting. Standing solo really was standing solo there, 1v2ing, and it looked like he could have made it. Kestrel, she's really squishy. She's not likely to build defense, even with what power or CP, and there's an engage.
There is, but it is a 1-for-1 so far, and now starting is onto this Scarf. And now turning his attention onto standing solo. Sorrowblade is complete for Ringo. A lot of damage coming out of him. Will they get this final kill? One more second before the ace is gone. And Lightning T is going to make it up, so that will not be an ace. Oh! One shot, one kill from the base comes through. Archaic showing us what he can do on this Kestrel. 9-4-2. Two one-shot, one kills do land for the cross-map kill. And we are now sitting about a 3,000 gold lead for the side of Hammers. And Lightning T has opted to go the Poison Shiv here. So really stacking up those mortal wounds able to come out. And now Hammers is looking on the back foot. They don't quite find a kill on Pulley, though.
I must say, Denominate, Team Vision OP. When you have vision on the enemy and your Kestrel just respawns at base, she has such a great opportunity to throw out those one-shot, one-kills.
Yeah, they were just a little bit out of range of starting in Pulley, but Standing Solo does get taken down by that snipe, and now it is NRG, actually. I keep saying NRG because of Lightning T. Necrolite getting a lot of damage down on that turret, not quite going to be able to take it. One shot, one kill does clip Standing Solo, not enough to get the kill this time around. And now it is starting in Pulley on the chase. FPG lands a Spitfire into Starting's face, dropping him to about half health. And now it looks like Starting is actually working into a, looks like a breaking point might come out of him next. Sitting at 2, 4, and 5 right now.
Yeah, looks like he may be going into that for that, some maybe better attack speed in there, and rather being able to ramp up the damage in these prolonged fights, because these fights are going pretty long. Interesting thing about Standing Solo, he's got his Crucible now, he's got his tier 2 boots going on, Fountains giving him a little bit of shield. He's actually able to sustain better now. We know that Captain Baptiste is really squishy, so with that Crucible to give him a little bit of boost in his base health, it really helps.
Yeah, we got a little bit of a 2v2 breaking out here, but it is going to result in Necrolite backing off. Oh, nope, Lightning T comes over the wall with the X-Retsu. Not able to find a whole lot of damage, gets some down on Pulley. But now the team of Necrolite is split, and FPG, oh, that one shot! 2 Shatter Glasses now complete for Archaic. He does find that kill, and now it is his Necrolite looking to find a kill onto Archaic. Not quite enough. The Grace Heal coming through. Will Starting be able to find Lightning T? He does, and now Standing Solo running for his life. That is not going to be an ace. FPG is up and ready to go, but it is 3 more kills going over to Hammers. 27 kills in this 9-minute game, almost 10-minute game so far. This has been absolutely crazy, Sean.
Yeah, it has been, and I hope my volume's a little bit better now. But it looks like FPG is getting just melted here, and they actually melt each other. And this wave is pretty pushed over here. It's not quite close enough to the turret yet. Standing Solo looks like he may be cleaning up a few of those minions there. But this is a really interesting game so far. And at first it seemed like we saw Necrolite meeting their win conditions really well, getting that early aggression with Baptiste, locking in people with those Ordains. He's throwing out bad mojos really well. He's already sitting on. He's already sitting at level 7 now.
Well, that one shot kill him. Another one shot from Archaic comes through, and like you mentioned earlier, Sean, when your team is giving you vision, it does allow those one shots to come through pretty clean, as Archaic is able to see the path that Taka is traveling and finds another kill. 12 kills now under the belt of Archaic. Starting 4, 4, and 7, and Pulley with 13 on his kill participation. This is starting to look more and more towards Hammers, but as the vision game gets stronger as the game goes on for Necrolite, they definitely have some opportunity. They can find some good damage on Archaic if he goes too far ahead and gets spotted out by a scout trap.
Yeah, and there goes that gold mine in favor of Hammers. Really well done. I like the burst damage that's coming out of Archaic right now. Double Shatter Glass, Energy Battery, and there's another big fight here in the Tri-Bush. Some aggression going on.
Yeah, a lot of damage going on to both Starting and FPG. FPG's actually going to take the opportunity to recall here. So is Lightning T, maybe looking to get an infusion as he drops. Actually, he is going to come back into the fight now, maybe looking to find some damage on Starting if he can just get a little bit of vision. Fearsome Shade out, does not get blocked. Ooh, a good stun, though, out of Archaic. And Pulley comes in and finishes off Lightning T, but now Pulley is in a world of pain underneath this Crystal Sentry. Got very low. This Spitfire over the wall by FPG does clean up an additional kill here for Necrolite in a 20-12 game. And now Starting hasn't let up their aggression. Coming back in, will he be able to find Standing Solo, or will the turret drop him? It is going to be the turret bringing him down, and Standing Solo is going to make it out on just a minor sliver of health.
You know, one of the win conditions here for Necrolite is they got to have FPG poking more from range, doing those Spitfires like he was just doing over the wall there. Very nicely done, but he ended up getting killed in return. If he can continue to do that and stay out of range of the Ringo and the Kestrel, that's what's really going to turn this game around for FPG and the rest of Necrolite.
Yeah, it's definitely could still be anybody's game. We definitely know this Scarf is going to come online very quickly here. The Broken Myth and Eve of Harvest are complete, and we'll very likely see a Frostburn for the next item out of FPG. And there it is right there. He takes the opportunity to recall. Starting has completed a Monocle and might actually be working into another one. So just going for a lot of bursts, trying to bring one person down. And now it is Hammers rotating over to the side of Necrolite, getting a lot of damage down on Stand Solo, but FPG and Lightning T returning a lot of their own damage. Will they be able to find Starting here, though?
Oh,
they do.
There it goes.
There it goes. The good goop coming out of FPG there is going to find the kill. However, Archaic on the backline there does find one onto Stand Solo. Will he be able to make it out? X-Retsu comes through. No, it is going to be Archaic dropping. And now Poli running for his life. A good chitin out of Lightning T there is going to avoid the stun, and now that could be a gold mine and a turret for the side of Necrolite if they play this quick enough. Starting is just now on the map. Gold mine is taken down. Double ace wave at this turret. That's going to be a huge gold swing going in the favor of Necrolite here, and they are still in this game. The Scarf is at the point where he's coming really far in his build. Needs to get a little bit of defense for the sustain, but these fights are starting to look a little more even as Starting is getting lit up here. He is going to find a kill onto FPG, but he will pay for it with his life as he's caught out a little too far forward. And now Archaic coming in. This aggression from Kestrel has been absolutely huge. The Fearsome Shade is available for Stand Solo. He is working into the Echo. Will they be able to find Lightning T? A couple Glimmer Shots come through, not quite enough. The Fearsome Shade comes out in the wrong direction, and that might be Stand Solo losing his life. Oh my goodness, they're so low, not quite able to find the damage they need,
Crystal Sentry helps.
Alrighty, well, wow, this has been such an intense game, Sean. 15 minutes in now, yeah. Kraken's going to be on the board, and we have over 40 kills in this game, 41 to be precise.
Yeah, this is a dangerous game that Hammers is playing right now because we see them being the stronger aggressors right now, especially when it's mid to late game. But if Scarf gets to late game like he's been doing, he's going to really be able to poke them down, chunk them out, and melt them.
Yeah, and right now, Necrolite has been staying grouped, and I think that's really their best opportunity. Ordain is going to drop. Poli taking a lot of damage here. Might be fountaining himself. He is. It is going to help him survive, but that is now a Fountain and a Crucible burned out of Poli, and Starting is in a very dangerous position on the front line here. Poli's going to take the opportunity to recall and top up on some health, and so is Necrolite, actually, so nobody's going to be able to take a Kraken opportunity off here.
No, what they did was they actually caught Poli out of position there. It looks like he was trying to put down some vision, maybe scout out the tri-bush a little bit, but once they caught him out of position, even though he is a really tanky Grace, they're still able to melt him down so much with all this damage coming out of Necrolite.
Yeah, now as this fight breaks out, Poli's in a really bad spot. He's going to have to use the Divine Intervention on himself, and he's still going to drop. Starting all over, taking a massive amount of damage, but a good stun coming out of Archaic is going to find a big chunk of damage. He's very low on energy now and has to be careful. Oh, Archaic coming through with a double kill there. One more Glimmer Shot will do it, and that's a triple kill for Archaic. What a play. Getting that good stun down was absolutely huge. He's actually gone into 3 Shatter Glasses in the Halcyon Chargers here. I'm not sure he's going to be able to solo out this Kraken, but with Poli coming up, he might be able to bait it out just long enough to get Poli up here. It's going to be really dangerous, though. Archaic takes a lot of damage from this Kraken, Sean.
Yeah, that's 390 something damage coming out of that Kraken every time. That's the you know, Kestrel's just so squishy, right? But now we have Grace coming in. She's going to be able to tank this pretty well, but we have
Necrolite coming, though.
Yeah, they're coming.
On their way.
Yeah, and this they could melt it in time, though.
They could. It is going to take a lot of clean damage coming through here. It is going to go over to Hammers, but the Ace buff, the Kraken buff, is canceled. Holy heals up Archaic and now dropping very low on his own. Starting getting lit up now as he's on the front line. That is not looking good for Hammers. Holy's going to come through and find the kill on Standing. Will he be able to find any other kills, though? Lightning T kitens over the active camo and is going to find an ace. And that is likely going to be a choke point turret dropping. But I don't think that's going to be too huge of a push. Necrolite actually getting a turret of their own as well. That is going to be some gold in their pocket, but it's also going to accelerate those death timers on the side of Hammers and give the Kraken a bit more time to get some damage down on this turret.
I still think that was a pretty good rotation out of Necrolite going up to just hit that turret. You know, just why not take it down and come back to finish off the Kraken, you know? Sure, they're losing this choke point turret, but I think that was the smarter move for them to do that. The game is an objective game. They need to keep getting down these turrets from Hammers in order to push and get closer to the base of Hammers.
Yeah, it's definitely not looking good if Starting gets caught out here. Holy is now joining him, and they do spot out Lightning T, so that will be Starting making it out safe. I do think we have to make note of Standing Solo's build, though. He did go with a Slumbering Husk and a Contraption, has not gone for the Echo, really prioritizing being able to be on that front line and keep the vision available so that Archaic is going to have to really fight around the vision. Holy almost gets teleported to base. Archaic with no defense, though. If they get onto Archaic, it is going to be a easy kill, really, for Lightning T when he jumps in. Tension Bow, Poison Shiv, and a Heavy Steel.
This, it looks like he may be working towards a Sorrow Blade for that final item to buff up his weapon power damage even more. And we're actually seeing in this late game here, we're 19 minutes in now, Denominate, Lightning T and FPG on this Taka and Scarf, they're coming online.
Yeah, they have been, and if FPG is able to find some damage, it's going to be huge for the side of Necrolite. Archaic does get stunned by the Ordained, but Holy with a Holy Nova gets Lightning T. Now Standing Solo is going to drop. Starting is going to drop as well to FPG, but will Archaic be able to clean up an ace here? He is not. A good boots from FPG is going to get him out, and that is going to prevent Hammers from being able to end the game here. A good escape from FPG is going to buy them time. 53 kills, 20 minutes in the game. Kraken will be back on the board here in just a couple seconds, I believe. And with the death timers dropping lower and lower, I don't think Hammers can take it when it comes up.
You mentioned Contraption being prioritized by Standing Solo earlier. Well, we actually have him. He's got a ton of flares and Contraption. Same thing with Poly. But looking on the map, we actually see a ton of vision down. Look at that. It's pockmarked all over the place for the side of Hammers, completely taking over the vision for the side of Necrolite. They only have one down near the Crystal Sentry. And it actually just got popped.
Yeah, and that's really what we got to focus on, is the vision control is really key when going into a Kestrel or playing with a Kestrel. If you're winning the vision game, then you're usually winning whether the Kestrel's on your team or against. Holy is caught a little far out here. A good stun comes through from Archaic, some good damage, but Lightning T is now going in. They found a lot of damage on Hammers. Fountain is popped. Lightning T does not get the Atlas off onto Starting. It's going to drop, and that is a kill going over to Hammers now, and the Hellfire Brew has come out. It is blocked by FPG, but will Hammers be able to find a kill here? Divine Intervention is used onto Poly himself, and Hammers now starting up the Kraken with Archaic very low on energy as well, starting low on energy. This could be potentially a steal coming out for Necrolite here. Poly using another Divine Intervention on himself. Spitfire and Goop coming out onto Starting. He's dropping so low, and actually Baptiste steals it away. Starting is going to find a kill onto FPG and trades out, getting an ace for Hammers, but that Kraken steal is absolutely huge for Necrolite. If Hammers would have got the Kraken there and the double kill, that very likely would have been game. So Standing Solo coming out huge.
Yeah, it's interesting to note there's actually a minion wave pushing into the base of Necrolite right now, so we're going to have to see Lightning T deal with that before he does anything here. And I don't think he would do anything. This Kraken's going too low already, so it's not worth it. This could be a net gain for Hammers right now. I liked what Standing Solo did. He held on to that Fearsome Shade, and we knew it was coming. Once he threw that Fearsome Shade out, it actually ended up doing a really good steal, fearing away the members of Hammers.
Yeah, it was a great steal coming out of Standing Solo, and that is going to delay this game even longer. Scarf now with an Aegis complete and almost a Metal Jacket is really going to be a difficult target to kill, especially once that Dragon's Breath has started to get channeled. Building up that fortified health is going to be absolutely huge for the side of Necrolite. They, with only 3 turrets, the amount of damage they have, we could potentially see if Necrolite picks up an ace here. This could still be a Necrolite game.
Yeah, it still could be. I'm just wondering if they're going to be able to position really good.
Oh, Lightning T though! Oh my god, drops so low. Stan Solo does save the Fountain. One shot, one kill is not going to come through. The Fountain is burned. Starting blocks the Fearsome Shade. Now Lightning T is going to drop as well. Divine Intervention coming out onto Starting, and now FPG, a Lonely Dragon running and fighting from behind the Crystal Sentry, will be able to find Starting here in just a second. Oh, the Crystal Sentry doesn't get the attack through. And with these 40-second plus death timers, this should be Hammers here, ending the game. 60 kills, Sean! 60 kills in 23 minutes.
Yeah, and you know what was really good about that last team fight is we had Lightning T get caught out by that active camo trap. He was coming in with his X-Retsu. Just because he got caught out, that was something that really threw the fight in the favor of Hammers. Really well played by them.
Yeah, it's really well played, but we will be bouncing back on over to the desk with myself and Dragonborn. We'll break down that game a little bit, what went right, what went wrong, and prepare you guys for game number 2 of Hammers versus Necrolite.
Boy, and what that has to be the most kills I've experienced in VIS Pro, maybe even in VIS Challengers. That was a heck of a match. Necrolite really played well for a good chunk of that match, but Archaic, I mean, I did mention we've seen him on Kestrel. I don't think we've ever seen him on Kestrel like that. 19-7-10 is a heck of a stat line going up against a team that, also were putting an insane amount of kills on the board. I really liked what Necrolite brought to this game, but they fell a little bit short when it mattered. And of course, look at that build from Archaic. 3 Shatter Glasses, a Broken Myth, and he had another Piercing Shard there. That is just probably the most delicate, most fragile crystal cannon I have ever seen.
Yeah, that was some huge plays there out of Archaic, definitely showing that Kestrel is super powerful. Went with an incredibly aggressive build, which actually did cost Hammers a couple fights. But with that last cleanup, they were able to find an ace, and with those death timers so long, they were able to push the 2 remaining turrets. And that is game number 1 going over to Hammers, definitely trying quite a bit harder going into this second round here in the quarterfinals. So going to be interesting to see what they pull out game number 3.
Now, I'd say definitely trying harder. Very aggressive composition, though, by them. I mean, they're just the way that they played, constantly going in, very risky. And even with Archaic, I mean, he was very far forward in a lot of those fights. Thankfully, able to use his active camo very quickly as the game progressed to be able to get away from those sticky situations with Taka, able to land some of those stuns on Taka, too, which I think, looking back, Lightning T was really good at dodging those active camos early in the game, but started to just slip as just the fights and the rotations from Hammers were just so aggressive.
Yeah, there was a lot of aggression coming out of both sides, actually, that game. We saw it out of Necrolite early, and then surprisingly in the mid-game, Hammers turned it around in a big way. Scarf was able to be a game changer in a lot of those fights. He did find a lot of good damage down onto Starting, but in the end, it just wasn't quite enough. Getting caught out a little too far in that last fight did get a bit of a downfall for Necrolite there.
Yeah, unfortunately it did. So what that means now, moving on to game number 2, Hammers with this 1-game lead. They're looking strong. I'd just like to see maybe something a little bit different. Hammers typically, VIS Pro has been so aggressive. It's cost them some games. It's cost them a lot of kills. And, obviously they like to play on that edge of the knife where, they're willing to go in. If they could win the fight, we saw Starting all over do it multiple times. He risked his life, knew he was going to die, but wanted to make sure he could at least even trade or get a positive trade netting his team. And we saw it with the Kraken. Granted, we saw Necrolite steal the Kraken, but Hammer's able to get the net positive gain with getting all of the gold without giving up a single turret.
Yeah, and that game was actually incredibly close through pretty much all parts of the game. So Necrolite really showing that they can hang with this Hammers team. There was an opportunity in that game where I really thought Necrolite had a chance to take it over when Scarf completed his build and got infused. But again, just some bad positioning. They did get caught out a little bit in that last fight, and unfortunately they weren't able to pull through. But they played really, really well, so it's going to be really exciting to see what comes out here in the second game.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, just checking in with the players to see if they're ready to go for the draft. Game number 2. Should be able to get right into it, see what kind of adjustments will come out. Necrolite, I felt like they were in a good spot draft-wise, but they unfortunately just couldn't match the jungle pressure Archaic brings. And this is what we saw all of the second split here in the summer season. Archaic just out of nowhere became this hyper-aggressive carry jungler. He's played phenomenally, and he continues to impress us.
Yeah, he played really well on the Kestrel that game. It's definitely a performance we haven't seen too much out of him. He really excels on those in-your-face crystal junglers like that Kashka that he's really made a name for himself on. The aggression when he plays Kashka is absolutely huge. And I think it started off a little weak. It did take a little bit of time for that Kestrel to get some crystal power and really have that pushing opportunity. But once he did get that power online, he made sure he used it. There was a lot of push coming out of him. And Necrolite is actually going to go ahead and ban away the Grace here. Wow. And Catherine, no doubt to follow up. That's been pretty much the story of 2.6 and 2.7 so far. Is a healer and a Catherine, or a glaive and a Catherine. It is going to give the Lyra over to standing solo, though.
Yeah, and the healer typically makes it through since Catherine's been such a priority, but Hammers takes the glaive. I like this pick, and we know starting all over in the lane can be such a dominant glaive. This could be flexed in the jungle. Likely not flexed into support, but could be. So one of the best flexed heroes in the game right now.
We've actually seen Afro play some of that Captain Glaive, not so much on Poly, but it is something that Hammers has done. So if the draft goes right, it is definitely something that is capable. I do think there's a lot of opportunity for either Archaic or starting to pick this up here. If the draft goes right, we could see a Celeste Glaive come out here, which would be super interesting. I think that would provide a lot of siege damage going into the Lyra, and an Adagio Samuel do get banned in the second round.
Adagio, interesting ban here. I think that just from the healing perspective, you don't want to give the last healer over. It could be flexed in lane, and then you could have that roam glaive. So ultimately, we see Baptiste come out again, and I think Poly really likes this roam Baptiste. So although it's a flex hero, it could easily probably be the support Baptiste we're going to see, and this allows Hammers to then counter the final Necrolite jungle pick with their own jungler.
Yeah, and a Scarf pickup again for the side of Necrolite. I do think that FPG had a really good performance on the Scarf last game. I do, however, think that Scarf is just stronger in the jungle right now. I would have liked to see them go with something weapon in the lane and really allow Scarf to build up those levels early. And just wasn't what we got to see. It did look good for them, but a Vox comes out, so that will be Lightning T now on the Scarf, and FPG in the lane on Vox. So Hammers has a couple options available to them here. They could go with a Krull and try to get to that back line and shut down Scarf, or they could even go into a Kashka and really try to push that aggression. I don't think that Jungle Baptiste is the safest option here.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Rome Baptiste, I think when I look at this with a Vox, although Vox is good into Glaive, relatively speaking, I think starting all over his Glaive is just so much pressure that he's going to be able to overpower the Vox. And I think so then you just go through, focus on the jungle pick here. You know you're likely going to have that Scarf in the jungle, so look to get something that can just take him out. Honestly, you know, look at the composition. You could go with an assassin here. You could go with Kashka or Taka. Instead, oh, it's going to be Idris. So, wow, they completely switched this up. I'm not sure who's going to be supporting Rome now, supporting jungle.
I'm pretty confident this is going to be a Crystal Idris in the lane with the weapon Glaive in the jungle and a Captain Baptiste. But we will have to wait to see who locks in what to really know.
Yeah, crazier things have happened here in the fold, and we're not going to know until that happens. But this is... I was not expecting them to pick their lane pick here at this point in the last pick. So clearly they feel comfortable about having Glaive in the jungle. I hope it is weapon. I think right now Glaive weapon is just a stronger build path for him in 2.7. We're about ready to get into this game here, though, in just a few seconds as we wait to get started. So looking at this draft day, I mean, it's kind of hard to put a finger on it, but if you had to walk away and say one team won the draft, who would it be?
Both drafts are incredibly strong. I think there's opportunity for both of these teams. They have obviously counters to each other. I do think going into the late game, though, there is probably more of an opportunity for the side of Necrolite. The Lyra Bulwark against the heavy engage out of Glaive and Idris will provide Vox and Scarf a little bit more kiting potential. So that's definitely something we could see. This could be anybody's game still.
Absolutely. As we take a look real quickly, I think you might be right. I'm not convinced that it is going to be a CP Idris just yet. I know you said that's probably likely what it's going to be. Obviously, Glaive rotate down to the jungle. Likely to be that weapon Glaive. But with that, we are getting into the fold, everybody. So I'm going to kick it over to our amazing casters, to Domine and Sean Ostino, to get us into all the action.
All right, and as we roll into game number 2 here, Hammers is up 1, but Necrolite looked pretty strong there in the first game, so definitely not looking to get knocked out here. This is a first place, takes the entire prize pool of this tournament, so obviously all of these teams really have to advance if they want to see any money out of this, as well as some bragging rights. I think Necrolite would definitely be a team that's looking forward to get back into a VG8 spot, especially Lightning T. So definitely going to see some aggression here come out of both sides. Starting is going to get some damage down onto FPG, but Lyra coming up and dropping that sigil is going to top them off, Sean.
Yeah, he is, and I actually like what I'm seeing so far out of Blaziken. He hasn't picked up the crystal bits yet, but I'm pretty sure he's going to be going that route because we know that crystal-powered Idris, with his divergent path, unlocking those ranged auto attacks, he's such a hyper carry when it comes to mid to late game.
Yeah, he definitely can be, especially if you're able to chain those chakrams. But just as we were speaking there, Lyra is going to drop first blood going over to Archaic. And let me tell you, Archaic has been incredibly impressive this series so far with the Kestrel there. And then a good rotation on this Glaive comes up and finds a first blood kill for Hammers. So definitely some good work coming out of Archaic so far. Starting is going to be the one to watch this game, though. This game is going to rely on Idris finding good chain damage through Scarf and through Vox.
Yeah, he's going to have to get some really good plays coming out of him with those chakrams. Maybe throw in a Shroud Step, Shimmer Strike to keep the chakrams going. Archaic, what we're going to need to see after him, out of him is those afterburns, hunting back the carries from Necrolite, and that's going to be one of the game-winning conditions here.
Yeah, it definitely will be, and as NRG does rotate all into the lane, they may be looking to force this wave under turret here in just a second. Scarf, even this early in the game, is able to get a pretty good chunk of damage down if they do decide to push the turret a bit. They are not going to do so, though, and Archaic is rotating into the side of Necrolite's jungle, and maybe waiting to get a gank down on Scarf here, but he is going to go for the backs before Scarf makes an opportunity to rotate down.
Yeah, really smart move by him, actually. And we know that Glaive is really tanky, even early game, but he's going to have to get away because Scarf's melting him too hard right there.
Yeah, Scarf and Vox rotating down definitely are going to push that Glaive back. He does have a high health pool, and then obviously the afterburn over the wall is going to give him a escape route. But now Lightning T, why are you caught out? The afterburn is not available for Archaic. Lightning T is finding a lot of really good damage. Another Spitfire lands on Poli, withstanding solo here, and Idris not quite being back in the lane. And actually, Idris is going into weapon power, so it is going to be a double weapon composition coming out of Hammers here. And now Lightning T, will you be able to find the damage this time on this Glaive? It does look like he should be able to. One more Spitfire will do. It does miss. And now Hammers is here ready to go. That was a pretty impressive escape here coming out of Archaic, but now Lightning T, the one caught out. Will they be able to find Poli? They do find Poli, and Stand Solo is going to find Starting, resulting in a double kill. So 2-2 now, with a very slight gold lead in the favor of Hammers. But as Lightning T rotates through his jungle, that may change here very quickly.
Very interesting engagement there we actually had from Archaic, and it looks like he may be going into trouble here again. No, he's backing off. And but what I thought was really interesting is the way he waited for his afterburn. He went into the jungle shop bushes, poured it out, but he ended up losing 2 of his team members to Lightning T and the remainder of Necrolite. Now we have the jungle intensified, Crystal Sentries coming in, the jungle shop's going to be available there for both teams, and we're just going to have some more farming coming out of Archaic. Looks like he's rotating up to lane maybe.
Yeah, and Poli rotating down to get that fountain is definitely huge. Stan and Solo had already purchased that, so if a fight would have broke out there, it would have been likely in the favor of Necrolite having that available to them. And now with all 3 members in the lane, they look to find a Spitfire, not quite. And that is going to be NRG now rotating down, taking their opportunity to shop. FPG had 1,300 gold in his pocket, is going to pick up that Poison Shiv. So going with a 2.6 meta build, which is still viable, but it is not quite as much of a threat as it used to be. And starting not letting the aggression up, get some damage down on Stan and Solo. Lightning T in the backs right now, cleaning up his farm, does have nearly enough gold to finish a Frostburn, which will be a pretty big spike here for the Scarf. But Archaic with the Tension Bow and starting with the Sorrow Blade now complete, if they're able to jump onto one target, they should be able to blow somebody up very, very quickly.
Yeah, they should, and that's one of the things that they actually changed in the update. They buffed Idris a little bit, gave him just 100 weapon power that was needed to get his perk for that Divergent Paths, and we can already see there he's able to blink in and blink out of fights, and he's going to be able to get in and do some burst damage down really quickly. It looks like there's a bit of engagement here.
Yeah, and Lightning T actually drops, but they do find a return kill onto starting, and now Archaic might drop as well, and that is just Poli left alive now. So that is going to be Necrolite taking the advantage there in that fight. And what was looking really good for Hammers turned really quick, but Necrolite is going to make a rotation down now. That wave is pushed underneath turret. They know without Scarf, they don't have a whole lot of pushing power. So they are just going to take what farm they can away from Archaic. What type of engagement do we need to see here? And actually, Sean, looking over at the Idris build, we do have a Sorrow Blade and now 2 Crystal Bits on starting.
This is really interesting, actually. So he's looking perhaps to go the weapon power build, but he also wants to do some extra damage with those chakrams. I wouldn't be surprised to see him picking up a Shatterglass.
I definitely think that's something that could be done, but it is going to be Necrolite coming out on top again, and now with Scarf in the lane, full health and full energy, I think this is a good opportunity where they could try to get some damage down on this turret. A good Spitfire and Goop would do wonders, and Lightning T has gone with the Eve of Harvest first, but look at that turret burning away. Minions are now cleared, and Necrolite is going to have to get out, but they aren't going to leave without getting a huge chunk of damage down on the turret. That turret is sitting a little under a third of its HP there. Obviously, the barrier up is going to prevent any further pushing power out of the side of Necrolite, but Glaive is going to go in and force Vox back. Atlas now picked up for Stan and Solo.
Yeah, it's interesting that Lightning T picked up that Eve of Harvest as opposed to the Frostburn. Usually we typically see the Frostburn for that kiting potential on Scarf. But Eve of Harvest is pretty good for that energy regeneration, as well as getting a little bit of healing from his attacks as well.
Yeah, and this is being ahead on Scarf is definitely something to take note of here. He's a little behind on farm, but obviously we've got the kills in their pocket. And now with them pushing the lane, that is going to be some additional gold going into Necrolite's pockets. Hammers isn't going to make it up here in time to save that turret. And just like that, Necrolite now has a 2,500 gold lead. That fight's breaking out, and the Idris drops very, very quickly. Glaive is forced to afterburn out. The fountain comes out of Poli, but it is Necrolite chasing him down, and they will find another kill, 8-3. Definitely a little bit slower paced of a game here, Sean, but Necrolite, again, when they bring their A game, they can compete with this Hammers team.
They sure are, and it looks like they're just going to siege this turret just a little bit. Spitfire with the Goop combination is going to chunk down that turret pretty good, maybe down to about 3/4 of its health, or 2/3 rather. But they're going to rotate down and steal some jungle farm here, and we're going to see if we can get Lightning T to catch up to that farm from Archaic. He's about 10 farm ahead, Archaic is, but we're just seeing so much damage coming out of this Scarf here. A really interesting thing about that last team fight we actually saw the Fearsome Shade come out, and it actually separated some of the members of the team. Looks like there's an engage here.
There is, and Necrolite is coming out on top very, very quickly here. Archaic is going to be forced out. Starting is going to get the recall canceled. Standing solo with a good Imperial Sigil. The rest of Hammers will make it out, but picking up a kill for the team is definitely huge here for the side of Necrolite. Again, they have done a great job really capitalizing on these fights and the mispositioning, as well as a little bit different of a Idris build, something we are not used to seeing here. Both divergent paths are now unlocked, though.
See, that's the bad thing, though, about going into the double divergent paths, I guess you could say, for Idris, is if you're going CP and weapon power on his divergent paths, you're going to be doing good damage on both ends, but it's not that hyper damage that you really want to see coming out of Idris if you're focusing on either the CP or the weapon power damage.
Yeah, it's definitely not the most effective thing, but maybe this could be something that we see changing here. Obviously, the ranged attacks are now available, as well as the dash, the Shroud Step teleport is available. And those basic attacks do 100% of crystal power and a small portion of the weapon power, so there is still some potential. FPG with a good block on the Afterburn is going to return a lot of damage onto Archaic. Starting is forced out, but there's huge damage coming through on him as well. Fearsome Shade is going to catch FPG, but another Spitfire is going to find Starting, dropping him down to a third of his health. And man, Necrolite really looking good right now. Starting does find some good damage on the Lightning T. The fight's not quite over, as Necrolite is still standing around trying to get some poke damage out of that Scarf, get some healing up. And now Hammers, the second Fearsome Shade is used. Wait for it, comes through. And that might just be enough to get Starting killed, as he does jump over the wall. He is going to drop, and now Necrolite is going to take the opportunity to go ahead and take down this Crystal Sentry. 2 lives remaining. Sean, what does Hammers have to do here to come back from this?
Well, it looks like we have a pause here, but I thought that was a really interesting, I must say, play coming out of Starting, jumping over the wall with the Shimmer Strike. And it actually just put him in a really bad position where he didn't have Archaic and Polly to give him support there in that team fight, and we had Starting all alone versus the entire team of Necrolite. He just got deleted there so easily right under that mid-tree end, and I feel like what Hammers needs to do here is they just need to, if they can go a little bit later in the game, if they can just get more damage on this hyper carry they have here for Idris, maybe they can do some really awesome plays. We need to see more punts going the opposite way coming out of Archaic, using those Glaive Afterburns to hit them towards the turrets, maybe into walls to stun them up. And these Ordains, they're landing really well coming out of Polly here, but the Fearsome Shades are not on point. He's maybe fearing them away in the opposite direction, where we want to get Starting and Archaic to jump onto them. We want them to be feared into a wall or into a turret, so we can have them get bursted down by this melee comp here coming out of Hammers.
Yeah, you make some really good points there, but man, Necrolite has been looking so good this game. It's definitely interesting to see what they're going to do for the side of Hammers to try to turn this around. And as we get the game unpaused now, we'll be getting back in, and not 100% sure on what happened there. I have to imagine it was probably a player disconnect of some sort. But we are now back, so that's really the important part. 10 kills on the side of Necrolite to the 3 of Hammers, about a 4,000 gold lead. And Hammers really has to pull together here and find some synchronized engages out of the Idris and the Glaive. And then Polly, obviously, with those Ordains, should be able to help lock people down.
With the exception of the last team fight, Lightning T has been doing a really good job of not getting stunned up by the Ordains. And look, there's another one coming down right there.
Yeah, and Starting gets deleted. Arcane Passage does come through, but Necrolite will not be able to find the other members of Hammers quite yet. They still have an opportunity here, but they're just going to turn their attention onto the turret. And I actually really like this when Scarfs do this. It's a really smart thing to do when you are that siege-heavy Crystal jungler, is just stick in the lane, force those objectives, help your team get the additional gold and objective control. But now starting finding some good damage on Lightning T, but the damage is also being returned. Double Fearsome Shade is out from Poli. Hammers is dropping so low, but Lightning T is out of energy himself. They should be able to find another turret here pretty easily, and this game is just looking more and more in Necrolight's favor.
It is, and I was looking at that team fight with the double Fearsome Shades. Where did they go? They didn't move in any direction, really. It feels like Necrolight just stuck around there at that choke point, and they were just able to continue to push and melt down that turret. We actually see them porting back to base, and we see FPG going into the jungle and stealing some camps away. This is really good. They're taking advantage. They're rotating down, stealing away more experience and gold from the side of Hammers.
And I think this is really promising for the side of Necrolight. Obviously, Lightning T coming off of a team that was in the Vainglory 8, now looking to find something with this new roster put together. Taking down Hammers would be a good morale boost for them going into the August season, and or the autumn season, sorry. And that is going to be a gold mine going over to the side of Necrolight, really extending their lead. But now, Necrolight has not let up. That Fearsome Shade definitely made note. And he'll be down for 60-some seconds now, and Echo will be up in 10. So it'll be interesting to see if Poli decides to use the Echo when it's available on something like the Ordained, just since it'll obviously be on that shorter cooldown and will be available again by the next time the Fearsome Shade comes online.
Yeah, that would be more preferable, especially since we have Necrolight really invading here. If they could just lock down that Scarf, get Lightning T in a position where he's going to be forced to stay there, because he's been avoiding the Ordained stuns really well. And oh, the Sentry's getting eliminated. We're seeing really good rotations here coming out of Necrolight. They're just taking advantage. They push, they go back, the jungle's popped, steal away golden experience from Hammers. They're just starving them here.
Yeah, and now that Vox is approaching the final item in his build, he does have a level 11 infusion, only needs to complete those boots, which might even be a War Tread, so it would give him some additional health as well as the team an additional engagement. I think as far as Necrolight's ahead, those War Treads would be a really smart purchase, but we have another pause coming out. I'll look to see with Dragonborn and see what's going on here. It is very likely a connection issue for a player. So we'll try to update you guys with some more info on that. But, you know, again, we really got to see Hammers lock down this Scarf or Vox and find an easy kill quick. And I think it has to be Scarf. He has a lot less defense. But, I mean, at the same time, if you leave FPG with that breaking point on Vox, that could be incredibly devastating as well.
Yeah, he does. The Scarf does have a lot less defense. He only is sitting on that coat of plates there. He's got a little bit of shielding coming out of that and the reflex block, but I feel like the positioning from Lightning T has been really on point. Every time he gets an Ordained on him from Poli, he's able to just stay in the Ordained long enough, and he's actually able to have his team members block effectively for him or distract. We see that if we do get FPG's War Treads on, it's going to give him some additional tankiness. It is also going to give him a good engage potential or disengage potential. If he activates those War Treads, he's going to be able to pop in really well to keep kiting that Idris or kiting any of the members who are running away from the side of Hammers. And overall, it's looking really good. Standing solo, I do like the build with what's coming out of him. He's got the clockwork down, which is not a typical item for a Lyra, but that is allowing for better cooldown reduction and energy regeneration as well. And yeah, I'm interested to see how the rest of this game turns out, Denomine.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting. Looks like we did have a... it was starting. Looks like he is disconnected, so hopefully we'll be able to get him back in here shortly. Not quite sure what's going on with that.
Well, players are responsible for their own connections.
They are indeed, and it would be pretty tragic for Hammers here if they weren't able to get back in, especially after picking up such a good first game there. And it does look like we're back.
Yeah, and it looks like Starting actually picked up an alternating current there. That's going to be good to allow him to do some quicker damage per second out of that Idris. But again, it's really not what I would like to see. I would probably like to see a Broken Myth coming out of him. That way he can he could really ramp up some damage in these team fights. We have seen some pretty long team fights coming out of here, so Broken Myth would probably be the better choice.
It probably would, and now as this Kraken gets started up, this is something that Hammers has to consider. Standing Solo getting dropped very low, but so is the rest of the side of Hammers. And if they are able to find an ace here, this very likely could be a Necrolite game. There's only 2 turrets that stand between them and a victory. FPG is going to chase down starting, and that is just going to be a huge opportunity now for the side of Necrolite to pick up this Kraken and probably be able to push for the win. With the Scarf and just the way they've been winning these fights, I don't really see anything that's going to stop them, unless if Hammers just finds a godly fight. Archaic, though, is found by Lightning T.
Yeah,
and will he get the kill? If he does find a kill on Archaic here, that staggered death timer would be absolutely huge. Is Archaic dropping very, very low? Final Spitfire comes through, and a basic attack from Vox is going to find it. And now Poli is not going to quite make it in time. And, oh man, Standing Solo uses the Arcane Passage, but no follow-up from the team on that one.
No follow-up, but I wanted to point out in that last team fight to nominate, Poli was trying to play to his win condition, which is he's got to get Lightning T in those Ordains, keep him in there. The only bad thing about the last team fight was, or the one-on-one, was that Poli got him in the Ordained, and he was still in his face. He needs to back off. The Scarf is just going to melt you. You need to get out of range, at least keep him distracted here. And now we have the push coming out of Necrolite.
Yeah, the push coming out of Necrolite here with the Kraken, and obviously Scarf, who does get dropped very low, but a good Imperial Sigil coming through is going to heal him up. He is now looking to find a kill on Archaic. It is going to be FPG finding that kill, and now with 1 down for Hammers, Scarf here pushing these turrets in. Kraken just a little under half health. I definitely don't see anything that Hammers can do. Starting is so low, FPG is going to come through and find a kill onto him, and that is game number 2 going over to Necrolite, pushing us into a game number 3 here.
Wow, this was a really fascinating game. Such a contrast compared to the last game to nominate. Necrolite, playing to their win conditions, using those Broken Myth stacks. Really good build here on Scarf. And they were able to position really well. The Ordains coming out of Hammers, though good and on point, they still weren't able to fight back with the positioning that Necrolite had. Really, kudos to Lightning T there for not getting stunned up so badly by those, and I'm excited for Game 3.
Yeah, and I really have to question the Idris build coming out there, starting obviously with the Sorrow Blade. I definitely think it would have been safe to go with a just double weapon route if you went into that double tension bow. It is still viable, but splitting the damage up there just took Idris too long to get online. It allowed Scarf and Vox to get to a dangerous point very early. And, you know, with that, we will be jumping over to the desk. Dragonborn will be helping me break these games down.
Well, on that one, really, like you said, it kind of surprised us. Obviously, Scarf into the late game is going to become a very, very strong opponent. Going to be really hard to, to deal with the damage, mitigate that. And so you really wanted to just focus something maybe early game. And you were talking about the double weapon. The double weapon, although is risky, it does have that strong early game advantage. And it could have been maybe what they needed to get an early lead. The problem was Lightning T got the early lead he needed on the Scarf. And once he did, it was pretty hard for Hammers to come back into that game.
Yeah, it definitely was Necrolite pushing their advantage when they had it, and it, results in us going to a game number 3. So again, these are, we predicted this at the beginning, that this could be really close games, and they have been so far. That one, maybe not as close as the first one, but taking us into game number 3, we will be looking, obviously, to see which one of these teams is going to move on to the next round and play the, I'd have to look at the brackets to see where they would be positioned.
Yeah, it'd be playing the winners of the Rogue versus Infinity Rebirth matchup. So, again, actually one that I think both these teams could have a decent shot at winning. So they could be easily making their way into the final if they could just win this matchup here today. We're about ready to get into the draft for game number 3. So I don't think we need to wait anymore. Let's jump right into it.
All right, let me open the right draft. Let's see here. Hammers, Necrolite 3. Catherine taken off early. Lyra answered right back. That is the Grace now available to the side of Hammers if they decide to take it. I definitely think it is a strong pick in this particular spot. Maybe not as strong as it was in 2.6, but definitely still up there.
It's really good. I think, and we already know how they can play with this. I actually think that on A side, in this case, just the way both teams play, they do struggle on B side without that strong support. Necrolite in game 1 decided to take a flex pick here. We could see something similar as well, or we could see them just try to maybe just be more conservative here. Typically on B side, when you have no strong healer, the flex pick makes a lot of sense. So Baptiste would be a pretty strong pick for Necrolite in this case. They have been really good on the Scarf, though, and I would say that there's a strong likelihood that Hammers might ban the Scarf if it doesn't get picked here. And Necrolites, you know, even though they lost game number 1, and Adagio gets picked, so the last healer could be flexed. Be interesting to see. Scarf could get picked, but Denominate at this point, you know, it's something that might be predictable that Hammers could be ready for.
It definitely could be, and obviously that Adagio is a very strong flex. We can see it run in the lane or in that captain position. I think it is a little bit stronger in the lane, just due to the sheer amount of early game damage he can put out. But it definitely has some good potential to go into that captain position as well. Obviously, having a healer on your team is huge. The Kroll ban is going to come out, and I do think that is smart into the Adagio. I do think that makes us lean a little bit towards the carry Adagio now. But obviously, as the draft plays out, we'll see. And a Glaive does come out, not wanting to give that powerful duo over to the side of Necrolite.
Right, with no Cruel, Adagio Glaive was going to be a strong pick. They could still go with some heavy weapon. In fact, I'd love to see something like a Rona even come out, which can be very doable. You gotta just be careful. Rhyme counters that, so you maybe want to save that for last pick. I like Kestrel. It's a flex pick here for jungle and lane. And it's also a pick that we just saw Archaic in game 1 light up Necrolite, so they definitely want to make sure they took that away. Lightning T is also really good Kestrel, so putting that into his hands wouldn't be a bad idea.
It definitely wouldn't be, and I think we have to go with something that's a really hard, aggressive engage now out of Hammers. I think we could get Archaic onto something like the Kashka would be pretty strong, and if Starting is able to pull out a good Vox here, that could be some pretty sizable potential. He will have to be careful as the Adagio will outrange him in the early game, as well as obviously the Kestrel, but it is definitely going to be interesting to see what Hammers picks here. I would like to see the Kashka Vox come out.
Yeah, we know he can play Kashka. Archaic can definitely play Kashka, so I mean, I don't see why they wouldn't be. I mean, Kashka Vox is pretty strong. Celeste is another hero he plays a lot.
Yeah, it definitely is, and that is something that both Archaic and Starting have had a really good performances on, and a Grumpjaw comes out of the side of Hammers. This is going to be neat to see. I do think this is going to be probably Starting in the lane on Celeste, and then Grumpjaw going onto Archaic in the jungle. We haven't really seen too much carry Grumpjaw lately, and with the slight nerf to Tension Bow, we might... it might not be the same level of aggression that Grumpjaw was able to put out before, but into the squishy composition coming out so far out of the side of Necrolite, I do think this could really be a pretty smart pick here.
Yeah, I do as well. I mean, we haven't seen Grumpjaw played much in the last 2 updates. Got nerfed a little bit, still strong heal like you said, but the meta just shifted a little bit. So lane Grumpjaw is what you feel like probably would be it, correct?
It's hard to say. I guess it could just depend on the way the rest of this draft goes. It does look like we have a pause here in the draft. I don't know if that's an accident or not, but it is a Vox now coming out, so that is going to be a Captain Adagio with a Jungle Kestrel, Crystal Kestrel, and a lane weapon Vox. So it's going to be interesting to see what Hammers decides to run here. I do think there's some potential for a lane Grumpjaw. We know how good Starting can be on the Celeste.
Yeah, Starting and Archaic can both be good on the Celeste, and I think Starting can play anything in the lane. Grumpjaw would work differently than a Glaive, but there's some similarities in playstyle that would be you could use in the lane. I think against a Vox though, it'd be a little bit riskier because you're going to be taking constant chip damage from the resonance, especially early on. might make farming initially really tough, and you don't want to get behind. In the jungle, on the other hand, going up against the Kestrel can also be a little bit challenging. We'll just have to see how these heroes drop into the respective players here in just a few seconds if we wait for this matchup to start.
Yeah, we'll be getting the game here shortly and have a little more information on what's going where. I think there's some good flex possibility for the side of Hammers here. We could see the Celeste in the lane just try to get that gold up. But obviously Celeste is really good in the jungle as well, getting that level 8 a little bit earlier, getting those overdriven heliogenesis is pretty strong. It is going to be starting on the Celeste though, so this is a good opportunity for Hammers here. And again, if Archaic gets on this Crystal Kestrel with the weapon Grumpjaw, he should be able to blow him up. But we also have to really take note of the active camos coming out of Lightning T, as well as, obviously, this Captain Adagio going to be very tanky and able to get off some Versive Judgments, as he will not be the one focused.
True. The Celeste, I think it's the Adagio, was a good pick. Grumpjaw, though, is going to struggle with the Celeste. And obviously, the Vox last pick. We saw how good FPG was on this Vox. Definitely a strong hero, but... enough talking about what could be. Let's get into what will be as we jump into the game, and I kick it over to our casters, Denomine and Sean Onestino.
Alrighty, game number 3 between Hammers and Necrolite here. This one decides who goes on and who unfortunately drops out of the tournament here in the quarterfinals. I do like the drafts on both of these teams, Sean. Who do you want to give the edge to? Who do you really think won the draft here and has the easier chance at coming out on top?
You know, it's hard to say, Denominate. I actually want to say that I want to give a little bit of the edge to the Grumpjaw on the side of Halcyon Hammers, just because we don't see Grumpjaw too often. Maybe this is going to be a little bit of a surprise coming out of Hammers, and it could possibly take the game. If these fights go on longer, he gets a breaking point or maybe a Tyrant's Monocle, he's going to be able to do some really good burst damage, and his Living Armor and the Divine Interventions coming out of Polly's Grace is going to be able to keep him alive.
Yeah, and we know what a game-changer Grace can be, but Archaic taking a lot of damage. He does find Lightning T for the first blood, but will the side of Necrolite be able to find a kill? It is very, very close. Standing solo coming through is going to find it to answer back. Good use of boots there, finding that kill. And now starting is rotating down. If he gets a core collapse off here, oh, it is down, and he won't be able to. So that is even going to be Standing solo making it out. FPG taking some damage now, though. Starting not quite fast enough yet, though, to catch up and get that damage down.
That was really interesting with those boots, and I like to build as a captain myself. I do like to build boots as a first item, so that allowed Standing Solo to be able to chase down Archaic there and hunt him down in the jungle shop bush. Very nicely done. And we have some rotation coming out of Polly sitting in that mustache bush, just be able to provide some extra vision, and there's an engage.
Yeah, Polly coming up a little bit short with the Holy Nova there, but does get a little bit of damage down, takes some in return. And now Archaic looking to come in here very aggressive. He finds some damage on Lightning T. I don't think it's going to be enough, but it might force Lightning T back to base, as he is very, very low on energy. Obviously, the Crystal Sentry not here either to help him in his backs. Archaic very, very aggressive here. Does find some more damage on the Lightning T. Polly coming in. Will they be able to find the kill? Kill number 2 going on over to Archaic, as well as it does look like he should be able to steal away these camps, unless if Standing Solo comes in and gets some damage down. That one is going to go to Archaic. It's going to give him the healing. And now Standing Solo is going to chase him down, as Polly did recall. Will Archaic be able to find that farm as well? He does. So Standing Solo not able to secure it, but is going to get some damage down onto Archaic. And on the other side of the jungle, FPG is getting chased down by Polly and Archaic and starting. And that is a third kill now going over to Hammers. So really starting off strong here. Getting Celeste to that level 8 is really going to be a huge zoning potential for Hammers.
Third kill going not over to Hammers, but to Archaic himself. He's really bursting down very, very well with this Grumpjaw, and this is what we like to see.
And just like that, starting is able to find a good kill onto Lightning T here in the lane. So 4 kills for Hammers now. This wave pushing up. FPG and Standing Solo will be here to get it back. And a good Sonic Zoom out of FPG is going to get him out of that Holy Nova. but starting is going to drop from a basic attack from Stan Solo. Holy, will you be able to finish off FPG? No, a heal coming out of Stan Solo will keep him alive and actually force Poli back under turret. Will he be able to find it? Oh, the stun coming through! Poli! Was trying to kill. Oh, but the gift of fire will burn Poli down, and now it's Archaic on FPG finding another kill. 6-3, 4 minutes in the game. 1.2 thousand gold on the side of Hammers, taking a little bit of a lead, but I think that's pretty expected with a Grumpjaw pick.
Yeah, I have to say so, and Archaic is doing a really good job. I wanted to actually point out one of those earlier team fights where Archaic, he provided such a great distraction, being the jungler, being tanky as this Grumpjaw. He was able to steal away one of the back treants there, and actually allowing Poli to port back to base and just heal up, preventing another kill from going over to the side of Necrolite. But yeah, this Grumpjaw, he's already got the tension bow built up, so we're going to be expecting some more burst damage coming out of him, and he's even probably going to be building towards a Tyrant's Monocle here to get some crit damage down too.
Yeah, we probably will see that Tyrant's Monocle, the double Tyrant's Monocle tension bow build come out and really try to push that early and mid-game aggression, as well as it can have a pretty powerful punch even into the late game. It just falls off slightly. But again, this game is going to be about getting the Celeste to level 8, trying to get those overdriven heliogenesis. It's going to give it the additional range, which is going to make it easier for starting to poke down the back line of Necrolite. So definitely have to be watching out for that spike. One shot, one kill does come through and miss. That is going to be starting getting a stun down now. Archaic rotating up, but starting is taking a lot of damage, and they are on Stan and Solo, who's the captain, so maybe not the best target there. FPG does have the Poison Shiv complete now, as well as 2 weapon blades, so this is kind of the first spike here for Voxy. Obviously, we'll have a lot of sustain, as well as getting the increased attack speed will be huge. And Hammers has to be careful here. They're pretty low right now.
Yeah, they're pretty low, and I do like that FPG has built into that that Poison Shiv. And it's as you can tell there, he's already really topped up on his health. And they're sieging this turret a little bit. The shields are up. Minion wave is coming in. So it looks like we're having another siege potentially coming out here.
Yeah, and that's something that Kestrel is really good at. And man, a lot of damage coming through onto Hammers here. Fountain is used very early. Lightning T doing a good job getting multiple hits down at these Glimmer shots, hitting multiple enemies. And they are just looking to force another wave under turret and then rotate down and make it to the shop. They might even clean up a little bit of farm, and they do. But with 1,200 gold in FPG's pocket and 1,800 gold sitting in Lightning T's pocket, that is going to be a Shatterglass now for Kestrel Sean.
Yeah, and I wanted to bring up the CS right now. We actually have 33 CS coming out for Archaic. Lightning T's got 30, so they're pretty close right now, and that's what we're seeing. We're seeing the difference in the fights there in that last Mustache Bush fight. We actually saw a Lightning T sieging that turret pretty well, throwing out those glimmer shots, getting good damage onto the member of Hammers. Oh my goodness, there's an engage.
Yeah, Archaic does take a lot of damage, but so does FPG. Who's going to drop here? It does look like it's going to be Archaic and FPG dropping, so 1-for-1 trade there. 7 kills to 4. That was a really interesting engagement out of Hammers there. We now have the Solar Storm available. Eve of Harvest also online for Celeste. You could see a lot of sustain come through here. Blaziken starting just needs to get a one-shot, one kill. Could be able to clean up Stan and Solo. But obviously we're seeing the additional healing coming out of this Adagio really having effect here in the early game as Grace, obviously not quite at that Divine Intervention yet, but a stun comes through onto Lightning T, and that is going to be a cleanup kill there for starting, and Archaic might be able to find, he does find Stan and Solo here, and that is going to be 2 more kills going over to Hammers, but FBG very healthy still with this Poison Shiv, should be able to heal up and be in a safe place to hold this lane.
Really good engagement coming out for the side of Hammers right there. We actually saw Poli trying to keep that lane presence there, and he was doing his best to keep healing. Oh, good one-shot, one kill comes out under Archaic.
Yeah, one-shot, one kill comes through, but FPG is taking a lot of damage, and a Supernova comes through out of starting, finding a kill. Really, again, this is one of his better heroes, one of his favorite heroes, and it's really starting to show right now. These core collapses have been absolutely on point. And now he'll likely be going back to get a Frostburn to his pocket. And there it is, and picking up some cooldown and some additional energy regeneration, really wanting to spam out those Heliogenesis. I think this is really smart out of starting here, but Lightning T is taking away some more jungle here. Archaic does come over, will be able to clean it up, and now Lightning T, running for his life, sets down a trap, and he's going to make it out safely.
Yeah, that was a really good, big supernova coming out of the side of Hammers. Right on FPG, he only has a light shield. He needs to prioritize some additional shielding if he's going to stay alive longer in these fights, especially versus a Celeste.
Yeah, and Celeste now at level 8 does have those overdriven Heliogenesis. The Solar Storm comes out and finds Standing Solo, not really the target he wanted. One shot, one kill is going to go wide, and now Standing Solo has to be careful here. Core Collapse comes out, Archaic jumps in, they find him very quickly, but now Poli is taking a lot of damage at the front line. Fountain and Crucible are burned, but that is another kill going over to Hammers now, and might be able to try to push FPG here instead. It is going to be Poli recalling. And starting in Archaic, rotating down to the jungle shop. Starting wants to spend this 1,400 gold that's in his pocket. He does get a Clockwork. So again, really wanting to spam out those Heliogenesis, as well as obviously getting that 30% additional crystal power, or yeah, the 30% additional crystal power out of that item. Archaic working into his second Monocle now, Sean.
Yeah, really smart move coming out of Archaic. We're starting to see every time one of the members of Necrolite comes in and gets a little bit out of position versus Archaic, he's able to burst them down so good. That Tension Bow Tyrant's Monocle build, going into the second Tyrant's Monocle now, he's getting so much crit damage. We saw Standing Solo. Oh no!
One shot, one kill does come through, but a Divine Intervention and some Eve of Harvest healing is going to bring Starting back up to full health. The Echo not quite available for Grace. That Divine Intervention will now be down, but Archaic jumping in. Will he be able to find anything? He does find a kill onto FPG. He finds a stuffed onto Standing Solo, and now as Hammers chases down Lightning T, Poli drops very low. They do find the kill on Standing Solo here, but Lightning T might be able to find a Glimmer Shot or two and find some damage down on Poli. A trap comes through. Heliogenesis not quite knocking him out. But it is going to bring him very low, and with no energy, that is going to be the first turret now going over to Hammers, getting that first objective and a burst of gold into their pockets.
Oh, look, the one shot, one kill, 400 some odd damage, CP damage. Woo, Blaziken starting is really, really low. I wanted to remark upon what I was actually saying with Archaic. He is just bursting down the Standing Solo, this Adagio. We know Adagio does not have the best movement speed.
Yeah, the Divine Intervention comes through onto Starting. Will he be able to make it out? No, he won't. And Archaic and Poli now on the back foot. Will it be enough? FPG and Standing Solo come through, find an ace, find a gold mine, and find a first turret for Necrolite. A huge swing of gold for them there, as the War Treads are now complete for Standing Solo. And a jungle rotation is now going to go over to Lightning T.
Really smart, well done. We actually saw really good capitalization on that last team fight coming out of Necrolite, and I don't think that Hammers expected it to happen. So these death timers are still pretty low because we're nearing mid game right now. Necrolite was just able to come back, push them really hard, and then take away some jungle farm, take away that turret and an additional turret. Now we're down to 3 turrets for the side of Hammers versus 4 for Necrolite. Really well played.
Yeah, they got 2 turrets off of that, which is absolutely huge, and FPG now has his 3 offensive items as well as an Aegis complete. So Starting really needs to get this Broken Myth online to start racking up the damage. Archaic comes through, swallows up Standing Solo. That is going to make FPG drop dangerously low. The Burst of Judgment is out. It does get some stuns down, and a good use of boots is going to get him out, and Lightning T finds a kill over the wall there. And now Lightning T has some opportunity as the Hammers are very low, but that one shot, one kill is going to miss, and that is going to be Starting and Archaic making it out alive. 1-for-1 trade, Poli for FPG. This could still be anybody's game.
This could still be anybody's game, and if we see some active camo traps catch him out of position, that's it. That's what Lightning T needs to do.
Yeah, Lightning T taking a lot of damage, does drop to Starting, so another 1-for-1 trade there. Broken Myth and Clockwork now complete for Lightning T, and Starting a couple hundred gold shy still of this Broken Myth, as well as only having a reflex block for defense. He has to be very, very careful. He's very susceptible to damage. He is here in lane, and again, can heal up with those Heliogenesis because he has the Eve of Harvest. But we really have to get Archaic in this fight. I don't think Celeste can really safely engage without that brunt force damage that Grumpjaw brings to the table.
Yeah, we need to have Grumpjaw frontlining, and that's what he's been doing for the most part, but they've been caught out of position a couple of times, and that's why the gold is actually evened out pretty good now, and here comes another engage.
Yeah, and starting drop dangerously low here. Archaic now on the front line taking a lot of damage from Standing Solo and FPG. FPG looking to come in. Stuff does come out of Archaic, but Poli and Archaic are very low. The chain stun comes through. The Solar Storm comes out, and that is going to be a kill for Hammers. And Standing Solo might even drop if the Crystal Sentry gets one more attack off. It is not going to make it, though. And enough damage got put down on that Sentry that he is going to recall and heal himself up, as well as Hammers is doing the same. But Lightning T not letting up the aggression comes in. 75 CS on Kestrel to the mere 50 here on Archaic. So Lightning T doing a great job so far.
Yeah, he is actually. He's got the level advantage over Archaic right now. So that's allowing him to do some better burst damage, I feel. He's picked up a Clockwork here, so that's going to allow him some better cooldown reduction on his stealth ability, his active camo, and that'll allow him to put down more of those active camo traps. If he can get Archaic, who wants to come in, who wants to be a bruiser and get in on these team fights, they could potentially catch him out there, and this could be swinging in the favor of Necrolite.
It could be. Archaic really has to get that other monocle online to have that sheer burst of damage. Bringing up the crit damage and crit chance is absolutely huge. Core Collapse is going to miss, but Hammers isn't done chasing. Frostburn does slow up FPG, but a good use of Sonic Zoom is going to get him out of danger. And now a couple of Glimmer Shots coming over the wall from Lightning T. A the Solar Storm comes through and takes him down. And just like that, Hammers is now able to take this Kraken. Archaic and starting should be able to do a pretty quick work here. And if Necrolite can come down and make a steal, it would be absolutely huge for them, especially if they can pick up some kills with it too.
When you have a one-shot, one-kill coming out versus a Celeste Solar Storm, please don't. It's just going to annihilate you if you take that in your face.
Yeah, the stuff does come through, and just like that, FPG is looking really strong right now, but can he find the damage? One shot, one kill comes through. Not quite enough to kill starting, but they will find FPG. But good engagement there out of the side of Necrolite is going to force Hammers off of that Kraken. That Solar Storm does not quite make it through on the target, and that's going to result in Standing Solo living here. But now, Lightning T and Standing Solo starting up this Kraken. Hammers knows what's going on. They're sitting here waiting. Archaic up in 5 seconds. Sean, it's going to be Necrolite leaving this Kraken alone as they see Hammers come in. But Hammers starting it up of their own. It is super dangerous here. Oh, it is going to be a Kraken going over for Standing Solo. War Treads are out. That is looking really good for the side of Necrolite here. And I do want to point out Vox has gone into a Shiver Steal here, trying to keep Celeste in a kill zone.
Wow. This is really interesting. I don't think competitively we've seen a Vox build Shiver Steel very often, but Shiver Steel did just get that buff recently, and it's going to be really interesting to see what the outcome is for this next team fight. They're just pushing here into this choke point turret, and this could end up being a really good push for Necrolite.
It could also end up being a really bad push as FPG is brought. Whoa, man! But one shot, one kill on the starting. Will it be enough? It is not. Now Standing Solo is going to drop, and the Solar Storm comes through, cleaning up Lightning T in the background there. But that is going to be the choke point turret going over to Necrolite, so something they definitely have to be proud of on that push. That is one of the best turrets you can really get down there, with the exception of maybe an early first turret. And this game, up in the air, it is 21-13 for the side of Hammers. Slight gold lead in their favor, but Necrolite has really been turning on their A game here.
They have been, and even though they had a net loss with that push, taking the Kraken versus taking one turret, we did see in that fight there was a really interesting situation. We actually had Standing Solo throwing down his Verse of Judgment. He got stunned up by a Holy Nova and was taken down. And looks like this Crystal Sentry is going pretty low, but oh, FPG, the Shiver Steel.
And the Shiver Steel doing work there. They are going to find Poli, and now starting is in a bad spot. Standing solo taking a lot of damage, but here comes Lightning T. Will they be able to find it? They find Lightning T. Solar Storm is not available, but it does look like they will find Standing Solo here in just a second. There is another kill going over to Hammers. Kraken, however, not on the board. So that is going to be Hammers forced to push up this wave. FPG is going to have to go all the way back to base to heal up. So, fortunately, not giving up the ace is absolutely huge for Necrolite here, because that would have been 2 turrets for Hammers if that would have been an ace.
They're going to be able to siege up this turret pretty good here. That was 700 plus damage coming out of that Supernova from starting. Really, really well played and well done. He's hitting those Supernovas and Heliogenesis on point right now. And Archaic just bursting down the front line, or anybody who gets out of position from the side of Necrolite. We're able to see that, oh, 652 damage from that one-shot, one-kill, that this Grumpjaw on the side of Hammers is still a force to be reckoned with.
It is, and now with that second monocle completed, it's a little bit late. We are 19 minutes in the game, but obviously wanting to get that Atlas Pauldron for Vox has been a huge focus out of Hammers. Poli does now have the Echo online, but we are still up a turret for Necrolite with Kraken back on the board now. This could be one ace decides the game. And Poli doing a good job clearing out some vision there, and now Hammer's rotating over to meet up with him.
Yeah, I feel like the vision game is going to be really key here now, and we need Poli to frontline a lot of this damage. Good damage rotation coming out of Hammers, and it looks like they're going to have to fall back.
Yeah, Archaic did take a lot of damage there on the front line, but starting is doing a great job poking out these Heliogenesis. Can't see anybody get caught in a scout trap here, though. Some good flares coming out of Poli are going to keep that from happening. Shiver Steel is now popped. It is slowing Poli down, but it's not quite enough for Necrolite to come through and capitalize on it. Solar Storm comes through, misses completely. One shot, one kill does the same. And now it is, starting does find some good damage on FPG here. This is an opportunity for both teams. Archaic is very low, but starting is racking up those broken mid stacks very, very quickly here. Oh, a huge Supernova comes through onto Lightning T. Almost 700 damage there. Both sides have members that are low, but the Divine Intervention is available for Hammers. But the Fountain is available for the side of Necrolite, and that is absolutely huge here. One shot, one kill is going to stop the recall. FPG coming in. Not quite enough. One shot, one kill is going to be used on to starting there. And now Archaic is forced back. Vision being sprayed here out of the side of Necrolite. They are going to start up this Kraken. And if they do get to secure this, this could be potentially a game-winning push here. Unless if Hammers can come through and make a steal. But Archaic is going to drop. And now FPG chasing down Poli. Will they be able to find anything off of it? A Supernova comes through on FPG. But Standing Solo is going to go ahead and start up that Verse of Judgment. Now, a lot of damage coming through onto starting. Who will get this Kraken here? One shot, one comes through onto starting. Another Divine Intervention, but it is going to be a Kraken going over to the Necrolite. And just like that, that health and energy generation coming through. This is going to force Hammers back. They do cancel it onto starting, or Standing Solo. But that is going to be another kill now going over to Necrolite. FPG chasing down starting. Will it be enough? It is not. They are going to find that kill. But it is now Kraken marching down the lane. The minions, obviously, here getting some good damage on this turret. This is looking really good for Necrolite if they're able to find a kill on the starting here. Getting so close. One shot, one kill is up. Oh, it's not going to quite make it, though.
That was a really intense... The nerves must have been getting to both teams right there. And it looks like Archaic is going to engage hard.
Yeah, and a huge burst of damage there coming out of Hammers. This is going to be one turret falling for Necrolite, though. And with the amount of damage Hammers have, I don't think this is going to be a second turret, but it might get a couple hits down. So, again, this is not looking too bad for the side of Necrolite right now. There's only one turret standing behind them into victory, so one more team fight could be all it takes for Necrolite to close out this upset over Hammers.
The vision game is really important here, especially late game, and we actually see from the side of Necrolite, there's actually vision pocked out all over the map. It looks like craters just everywhere, right? And see, that's exactly what Poli needs to not do, not face check those bushes.
Yeah, but the Crucible is burned, Holy Nova comes out. The Stuffed, however, is going to eat up FPG. He is taking a lot of damage. He is going to drop. And just like that, it is Hammers taking a little bit of the advantage in this fight here. Standing Solo going to go down next. One shot, one kill does find Starting, but not going to be enough to bring him down to death. But now Lightning T coming over here. He has some vision to his name. Hammers are low. If he finds a good active camo stun here, Archaic jumping in a little too far. The Divine Intervention is going to save his life, but it is also going to be Lightning T getting out with that active camo. No Kraken available to take. Archaic low on health and energy. I just don't know if there's too much Hammers can do off this. One shot, one kill misses. FPG and Standing Solo down for 15 plus seconds. They might be able to push one turret off of it, but I think to be super careful here. Will they be able to find T? Solar Storm comes through, doesn't quite land. Poli now diving incredibly far. Oh no, Poli goes a little too far. Lightning T saves his own life with that active camo and finds the kill off the back of it. 50 seconds now. Poli is down. Fountain and Crucible were available. Archaic takes the one shot, one kill, but is not going to die. He should be able to get out here. There aren't any more scout traps he would be able to run into. So that is just going to be Hammers taking one turret and getting out here. Wow, this game is coming down to the wire, but Necrolite did see the recall there.
They did see the recall, so they know they're not going to be in the jungle anywhere. This is going to be a potentially free Kraken for the side of Necrolite now. Oh no, looks like Starting and Archaic are going to contest.
They are going to contest, but Starting has taken a lot of damage here early. Solar Storm is available. He just has to be incredibly careful about when he uses it. Archaic taking a lot of damage. I don't know. Standing Solo now taking up this Kraken. This should be still a contested Kraken as Starting is very, very healthy. That Solar Storm obviously available. We just have to make sure that Starting doesn't walk into any traps. Finding some damage on the Lightning T, not quite getting the Supernova down, but now Starting is turning his attention onto this Kraken. Standing Solo comes through, Verse of Judgment coming out. It is going to get blocked. That is a Kraken for the side of Necrolite, but if Hammers cleans up an 8 here, they can push for a win. Solar Storm does not come through. One shot, one kill, though, will land onto Starting. Only one turret standing between Necrolite and victory. This Kraken is going to have to drop quickly. FPG coming through here. Does Sonic Zoom out of that core collapse? This could just be a free Kraken going over to the side of Hammers. But we do see, actually, a Scout Trap does scout Lightning T out. He is pushing in with the wave. FPG is going to try to stop the recalls here. Will Lightning be able to end this game? Starting is coming back. Turret is destroyed. Bane Crystal is wide open. Solar Storm comes through, misses Lightning T. FPG does drop, but is Lightning T going to have the damage? It looks like he might. Oh my god, one more attack. The Kraken's going to come through and end it. And just like that, Necrolite is moving on to the next round of the VIS Pro Series. Sean, what an amazing performance here.
What an amazing game coming out of Necrolite. Wow, the back door. Just the turret was still up, no exposed Vein Crystal, and we just have Lightning T with all this damage. The Glimmer shots raining down upon the final turret, and the Kraken just on a fraction of the life coming down there to be able to do the final blow on the Vein Crystal. Really well done coming out of Necrolite.
Yeah, and we definitely got to give credit to FPG for the communication there. They did decide to do that, and FPG actually canceled the recalls of Hammers. So that is going to be Necrolite with a huge performance and upset over Hammers. And to get us ready for the intermission and move into series number 2, it'll be me and Dragonborn.
Well, thank you guys so much, Sean Estino and Denominate, to get us in through that match. That was a heck of a series. We just witnessed, what a crazy close matchup. Necrolite, this team looks good. And, of course, Lightning T, no surprise there, really, as he's been able to carry teams to Vainglory 8 realm multiple times, and he's been able to play at that level for so long. Of course, him and Standing have such a rapport. And FPG, his Vox, I think that's worth noting. You really got to be careful. He played 2 really good games with Vox that helped his team win. Maybe something that if Hammers could look back at, they'd maybe keep an eye on. But the mechanical play, obviously another point taken here is that Kestrel, CP Kestrel, seems to be something that teams should probably keep an eye out if they're going up against Necrolite here in the future. That was Absolutely thrilling, but it does mean that we have to get on to our next matchup. We were pretty late, actually. That took a long time, so we aren't going to wait too much longer. We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, Rogue will be facing off against Infinity Rebirth.
Ben, Sam, and Ken are on separate journeys to defeat the menacing Vile Dragon. But let's just say luck isn't on their side. If only there was a way for them to find each other and band together. Well, that's why there's Band. It's a mobile app that allows people to come together using common interests. With Band, you can find fellow gamers, chat, schedule gaming sessions, and conduct polls. Stage epic battles with friends while sharing videos and photos along the way. So try Band today. Band. Be together.
Welcome back, everybody. We are getting ready for our next matchup here, our second series. It's a little late, started off at 11 o'clock Eastern, but we're ready to get into it as we have Rogue versus Infinity Rebirth. Denamine, this is a team Rogue that has really been kind of like the comeback kid. If you take Hammers out of that equation for the season, they knocked down to the challengers, worked their way back up, and although they weren't able to get into Live Championship, they did prove to be very strong in the Vainglory 8, got a decent amount of points, and honestly, going to the next season, they look like such a great team.
They definitely do, but we also have them going up against, obviously, Infinity Rebirth here. And obviously, they've had some pretty sizable performances as well. Making it this far has been no easy feat, but Snipers has really, really been impressive, for me at least, as of the last couple of games we've seen him play.
Right. Yeah, I mean, the upset against Misfits. Misfits actually a team that we thought might have a favored chance to get into the finals at least. And, you know, they didn't make it that far thanks to this Infinity Rebirth playing so well. They've been together for a long time today. They've got that synergy going for them at very least. It looks like just the way they've approached games mechanically seem to be improved as well.
Yeah, they definitely have. I definitely think they've found something they should continue to work with here. And, you know, it's going to be exciting. Obviously, they're not in the Vainglory 8. We'll have to see them climb their way through the autumn season. But I think our HyperX player to watch is going to be Hammy, the laner for Rogue. He's a, you know, pretty fantastic player. I've seen him with some huge Idris performances, some huge Vox performances, and Baron even. So it's definitely something still on the table. Baron did get some nerfs. But I think if you build the right composition around it, it's still a very strong pick. Just maybe not quite as overpowering as it has been in the past.
Well, I absolutely agree. It's something he's been pretty unique as a laner. Idris is something he's known for his Saw as well, being able to lane Saw, although I don't expect to see too much of that. But we're not going to wait any longer, guys. The draft's ready to get started. So today, let's get into it. Let's start breaking this one down. Rogue starts here on A side. Now they're looking for the first pick. Typically for these first bans, it's Lyra, Grace, or Catherine are basically one of the three we usually see within the first two picks. And Dave might have just dropped out here just for a second, so I'll make sure I can jump in here and take the lead. Of course, started to actually go into bonus time. A little surprising to see that, but Lyra is going to be the ban. I think a lot of times teams... you know, sometimes debate between which healer they're going to take away or Catherine. Now, Infinity Rebirth does take the Catherine. This has been pretty consistent to nominate, where Lyra Catherine or Grace Catherine are the first two bans.
Yeah, Grace Catherine is definitely the other band that we really see a lot of, but that is going to give the Grace over to Evil here, and that is something pretty scary to go into. So if you are the side of Infinity Rebirth here, I definitely think you have to consider a Scarf. Scarf is pretty decent into Grace, as there's just a lot of poke. It is a Baptiste that comes out, and I really wouldn't expect to see a Scarf come out so soon. But the Baptiste is a little interesting to me. I definitely think you want to ban away something you don't want to play into. So you could ban away like a Glaive here, and then you could lock in an Idris, but it is going to be a Celeste ban instead.
Yeah, and the Baptiste is just that flex pick that you'd like to see. Celeste, of course, we know in the jungle, upon the original Celeste, has been almost perfect. And so it's really just a safe ban. It's nothing too aggressive. It's not trying to change the scape of the game, but it is allowing them to take that comfort pick. Also, a hero that's really come into the meta pretty strong as well.
It absolutely has. The amount of AoE damage and real burst that Celeste can have is absolutely huge, especially with so many carries going with so many offensive items right now. The Kestrels, you know, Barons, Idris, going into just real heavy offensive items early can really give Celeste an easy time to get those Supernova burst damage down. And there's going to be a Glaive banned away by the side of Rogue now.
Yeah, Glaive, this band, I think makes perfect sense to nominate. It's been so dominant as a weapon carry, and it's flexible. So to see it go in the second round, not surprising at all. Idris going to be that pickup by Infinity Rebirth. And I actually think that with Idris picked up, you know, we might see Hammy go with something like the Baron, or maybe something more conventional. Vox, of course, is in his repertoire, and one that we probably have to say has been very reliable as a weapon carry for most of the last two updates. So Rogue has to choose between something standard like a Vox or go with something a little bit more creative.
Yeah, I mean, Vox is really been a viable hero for the past, like, 25 some updates, so definitely something we could see out of Hammy here. But it is going to be a Kroll and a Scarf coming out of Rogue, and this is something we really haven't seen them play too much. So I think based off the draft, that's going to be a lane Scarf.
Yeah, it has to be. I mean, it doesn't have to be, but you'd be destroyed in the... I mean, potentially a lane Kroll, we've seen it done a couple times competitively. And I don't think...
Andrus!
Yeah, I agree. It's unlikely. And honestly, upon the original, he's been that one jungler who's just always, Rhyme, Rona, Cruel. He's constantly been taking the jungle meta and just turning it on its head oftentimes.
Yeah, he has, and I definitely think he's a very good Cruel. When paired with the Grace, that can be a pretty devastating combination. We just have to look for those Ordain lockdowns out of this Baptiste, which will probably be pushed into the captain position now, and going into something like a Petal would be okay here. Now, it wouldn't function as well into the Scarf, but if you can make Kroll's early game a nightmare, then there it is. So that Petal is going to come through.
And we see Petal against the Cruel. It could just be great at just slowing the Cruel down a little bit. Frostbird usually comes out in this case early for Petal, and that will allow him to just keep the Cruel from engaging hard on Petal. Now, Cruel doesn't have to go after the Petal, and oftentimes we can see Cruel just as a decoy to allow that Scarf to get the poke on. But we are going to be getting into this game pretty soon, as the draft, of course, just wrapping up. I do like the composition of Infinity Rebirth here. I think that it's more of a sound counter draft to what Rogue came out with, but no telling really. Pond the Original always impresses me with his jungle play.
He definitely does. He's been a really key pickup for this Rogue roster, obviously replacing Sibs, who is now, I believe, on Vision Gaming. Still have to see as we move into autumn how that all turns out, but Pond has really come out and shine for this Rogue roster. And, as we get Evol in here, hopefully in just a second. Oh, actually, so this is interesting. This is really interesting. We actually have Sibs subbing in for Rogue, playing in that captain position.
Yeah, I need to look into that.
I think he is a sub on the roster right now, so that is something that they can pull off. I think Evol is such a magnificent captain that this is a little bit of a upsetting thing for me. I really wanted to see Evol on that Grace.
Yeah, I mean, you got to do what you got to do. Sibs, of course, a lot of time playing with them. He typically a carry, but you could go into the support role. It definitely would be little challenging, but I think that wouldn't be too surprised to see that transition take place. I am actually just confirming that roster update before we jump into it, just to make sure. Yeah, I do not see Sibs on the roster, so I think there might be a little bit of a confusion. It might have to be Storm.
I'm going to scroll back because I think it happened a couple days ago. Yeah, so if we look at August 25th, Adrian said, after tonight, subbing out Stormy Cross for Sibs. So they actually let us know this 5 days ago, so that is good to go.
Okay, yep, you're right. Thank you, Denomine.
No problem.
We'll definitely get that updated on our side to make sure that is corrected. So, all right, we should be getting ready to go momentarily here. We're just waiting for the last player to get on for Rogue, and looks like he's on, so we should get this match started. Just a few moments. I do want to take, of course, a few seconds here while we wait. Want to thank all the viewers for coming out here. Of course, you guys are watching VIS Pro, which is exclusively on Mob Crush. If you like what you see, by all means, please follow. Make sure you turn notifications on and follow us on Twitter at VIS League. You're not going to want to miss all the action we bring. Of course, we will be also bringing the Autumn Challengers as well to you guys. That will be, of course, multicast across multiple platforms. But again, if you love the quality, if you love what we bring, make sure you guys keep supporting us. We love you guys so much. And with that, the game is just about ready to start. So looking at this, I always love seeing a Petal counter a Cruel. Not always successful, but when played correctly, it could be very difficult for the Cruel. The biggest thing here I see, you've got Sibs on the Grace. Sibs isn't normally a support player, but Grace is so strong that I just think that overall, the Baptiste really isn't going to be a huge problem. What do you think is going to be, who's going to come down with this game? Or at least what are going to be the keys to success for Infinity Rebirth if they want to go up against this composition from Rogue?
Well, obviously the Petal just has to shut down the Krull. I mean, as early as possible, make it so that Krull can't get any items, and that's what's going to allow you to push the Scarf in early, as they're not going to be able to participate very evenly on it in these team fights. So this is going to come down to really somebody, to me, making sure that Pawn is in a very uncomfortable position.
Well, somebody it will have to be as we jump into this first game. Of course, going to kick it over to our casters, Denomine and Sean Astino.
All right, Sean, as we get into this game, we do have a Grace and a Krull matched up here with the Scarf, which is really going to make it easy for that Scarf to get to the late game and hopefully be the hyper carry that Rogue really needs here. But somebody on this Petal, there's a lot of opportunity where Petal could shut down Krull, and we just might not see Rogue get to that online point.
Yeah, what the Petal really needs to do here is I would like to see a Frostburn coming out of that Petal so we can actually go ahead and slow up upon the original's Cruel. Because as we know, Cruel likes to be on top of fights, and that allows him to have that really great sustain with his Spectral Smites and doing those weakening stacks. Well, it looks like we have a little engage up here in lane.
We do, and there's a little bit of damage coming out to Hammy, but it is turned right around onto Snipers. The Spectral Smite comes out a little bit too soon, not quite able to secure that kill, and now it's somebody forcing Sibs back, but now Pawn comes in and gets some good damage down onto somebody. So pretty well played out of Rogue here early. Coming out ahead on that trade is absolutely huge for them. Again, wanting to get this Krull online, and now somebody has to be careful as the Shadows and Power Me are going to allow Krull to get in, and Pawn is going to steal away that farm, and now might even be able to find Sir Turtlebot for a first blood, and he does, now turning his attention onto somebody. This is not the counter to Krull that we expected to see out of Petal.
No, it's not, and so the aggression coming out of Pawn the original here is really good, and it allows them to rotate into the jungle of Infinity Birth, and they're just stealing away all this gold early game within the first 2 minutes. It's actually got them a pretty noticeable lead. We're about 800 gold lead here for the side of Rogue, and we need to get this Petal online if he's going to be able to stop Cruel.
Yeah, he absolutely needs to come online again. Petal's very good at shutting down the Krull. Maybe not so much at level 1, but now that that trampoline is available, we definitely should see a little bit better engages out of Petal. Obviously, when you don't have that distance that you can create from the Krull, it is very easy for him to stick onto you. But man, this early in the game, we already almost have a 2,000 gold lead for the side of Rogue. That is not looking good for the side of Infinity Rebirth.
No, it's not looking good. Pawn the original hasn't even back to base yet. He's sitting on 1,900 gold right now. That's going to allow him to maybe pick up a tension bow here, so he can get some more of that burst damage down when he gets his Shadows and Power Me. Perk is Dead Man's Rush coming out of the bush there, and it looks like he's still thinking a little bit, but we do see the crystal bits. 3 crystal bits on somebody here. I love that name, by the way. It makes us feel like we're talking about some general person, but we're talking about somebody from Infinity Rebirth. Anyway, we got the Sir Turtlebot. I feel like he just needs to keep building towards that fountain. He's going to be able to get some good Ordains down onto that Cruel to keep him locked in and away from his team. But in order to counter that, Pawn the original could pick up a reflex block to get himself through those Ordains if it comes to that.
Yeah, and Sibs is a little bit caught here, but I don't think they quite have enough damage to follow it up. Hammy does take a bit of damage as well. I do want to make note of something here very, very quickly, Sean. Snipers appears to be going into a Crystal Idris as well. I think that's going to make it really, really easy for Krull to pick which items defensively he wants to go for. We could even see a second fountain coming out of the side of Road here after the Aegis comes out on Krull. I'm not sure I agree with the double crystal. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't agree with the double crystal either, because all you have to do for the side of Rogue is to just prioritize getting Aegis, and doing that's going to really significantly reduce the burst CP damage that's going to be coming out of this Petal here, out of the Idris, and if he is in fact going double, if they are in fact going double crystal, this could be not so smart of a move for Infinity Rebirth.
Yeah, I've definitely got to question it a little bit. The Shatter Blast is now complete, so he's committed fully into that crystal build. But I think that makes it too easy for Kroll to tank up. We'll probably see Pond go like a Breaking Point Poison Shiv into a Fountain and an Aegis would make sense to me. Getting that additional shield as well as some additional healing for the team would probably be the most effectful Kroll build here. And now here comes Rogue, not quite able to get in. A good Ordain from Sir Turtlelot is going to cancel the Dead Man's Rust and Shadow's Empower Me from Pond the original. Hammy is approaching level 6. Somebody level 6, that Spontaneous Combustion is available now, but Snipers, again, going this crystal build, not going to have quite the execution style attacks. Sir Turtlelot getting jumped on now. The From Hell's Heart has been burned, but he is going to get taken down by Hammy.
Look at the health on the side of Rogue right now. They're so completely topped off that all they have to do is just poke from range, get Pond the original in there, and he's able to do significant damage. Sir Turtlelot went down very quickly in that last team fight.
Yeah, and Spontaneous Combustion comes through from somebody, but it is not quite enough to get the kill on Hammy, so that is still going to be a 2-0 lead for the side of Rogue. Hammy forced so low, though, he is going to have to recall, and Pon and Sibs just looking to get some damage down on Snipers while they can.
Yeah, we do see that breaking point for Pond the original that's going to allow him to be able to sustain even better in these team fights and dish out even more damage. And it looks like he's already prioritizing some of that light shield going into that Aegis, perhaps, since they do see that we have double CP coming out here on the side of Infinity Rebirth. Looks like Rogue's going to have to just go ahead and rotate back to their jungle and keep farming up.
Yeah, and it's actually a breaking point that comes out first on Pond the original, but not only the breaking point, there also is a infusion sitting in his pocket. So right now that value is a level 7 infusion, but as this jungle gets cleared out, he's going to get closer and closer to level 8. He'll get closer and closer to having the Spectral Smite overdriven, and that is a pretty big spike there for Kroll. It's really where he starts to come online, and again, building up that tankiness, being that frontline hero is going to be absolutely huge for Rogue here as they go in. Spectral, or From Hell's Heart lands on Sir Turtlelot. Will they be able to find the kill? It doesn't look like it, and the Spectral Smite actually comes out on a minion, and now somebody coming in, getting some damage down to the Pond. They do find a kill. Now Zips is in a bad spot. Will they get it? The Holy Nova does come through, but that is kill number 2 now for Infinity, and that, just like that, Petal really showing the amount of aggression she can put onto that Kroll, as they are going to start up the gold mine now. Hammy has some opportunity to force this lane under turret and force Snipers to miss out, but we got to see some shield built on Pond here, and maybe even some additional shield built on Sibs if need be. But Hammy gets caught out by an Ordained and gets blown up.
Wow, really good rotations coming out of Infinity Rebirth, going down after winning that team fight, taking the gold mine and not going back into their jungle, but going back up, rotating into that mustache bush on the side of Rogue. And they were able to catch out Hammy. He's so low right now, he's not building any armor or shielding, and they were just able to blow him up so easily.
And that is now a 1 kill advantage for the side of Infinity, as well as the Echo is now complete for Sir Turtlelot. So looking to really capitalize on the amount of crowd control that this Baptiste is able to put out, as Gabe Bizzle once said, oh, hold on, huge fight breaking out, and they actually just decided to back off. I thought that was a really good engage out of Rogue, but as Gabe Bizzle once said, the Echo on both the Catherine and the Baptiste, you just need so many Crucibles to block all that incoming crowd control. It's just not really something fathomable for a captain to try to block all that. So definitely a smart pick here out of Sir Turtlelot.
Yeah, we do see a Crucible on Sibs and a Reflex block on Pond the original. They're on cooldown right now from that last team fight, but that's what's going to be important. They need to be able to block these Fearsome Shades and Ordains coming out of Sir Turtlelot.
Yeah, and again, this game is, Hammy is really going to have to be the hyper carry for his team. Pond is starting to prioritize into that shield. He does have 2 tier 1 shields available to him now. So
Denominator, I also want to point out that in the last 2 or 3 team fights, we've been seeing Pon the original land his from Hell's Hearts onto Sir Turtlelot. And he actually did just pick up a reflex block, thankfully. He noticed that he was getting caught out by that a lot. And that's something he needs to do. He's the captain for his team. He needs to be able to block really effectively and stay alive for his team. If he gets caught out by from Hell's Heart and he gets shut down with those respawn timers, that's going to leave his team out in the cold, and they're going to be having to fight in a 2v3 situation.
Right, and then obviously, Baptiste, not that tanky captain. If he does get caught out, he can get out very, very early on in a fight, or even just forcing out a fountain on himself would be a huge win for Rogue. But Petal now, Frostburn complete, working into a Broken Myth, will actually have it as he reaches the shop here, on now having a tier 2 and a tier 1 shield. So again, really prioritizing the crystal defense here because of the double crystal power composition Infinity has put together. But will Hammy be able to find some damage? He does get some on somebody, but doesn't follow it up with the an accurate goop. Somebody is able to trampoline out of the way. So that is going to be somebody's life spared. Still a 2 to 3 advantage for the side of Infinity. And now Pon going in on Sir Turtlelot. Somebody is very low. Oh man, he's going to jump over the wall and get out. Pon is taking a lot of damage. Divine Intervention comes through. Not quite enough. I think Pon is going to drop here. The barrier might just save his life. It indeed does. Oh. And Hammy turns around and finds a kill onto somebody. Finds a kill onto Sir Turtlelot. Finds huge damage on the snipers. Oh, that next... Oh, there it is, right there. That is an ace for Rogue. That is a first turret going over to Rogue. And maybe even a gold mine or a second turret. I'm not sure what they're going to push here. It does look like they're rotating down, though.
Yeah, really well-played team fight by Rogue, and actually some poor positioning coming out of Infinity Rebirth. We actually saw in that last team fight, somebody actually jumped over the wall and then jumped back in order to try and help his teammates, but instead he got burnt alive by that icy, fiery breath coming out of Hammy. And then shortly afterwards, Sir Turtle fell. It was just a really big positioning thing. And if Infinity Rebirth wants to take this game, they're just going to have to tighten that up.
They definitely are, but Rogue does take a little bit of an advantage there, getting the gold back into their favor, sitting about 3,000 above Infinity right now. So that is definitely looking good for them. However, again, Petal, with the Broken Myth ramping up, can find a lot of damage. And Hammy has gone into a clockwork. 4 offensive items now for Hammy, the Broken Myth being the 4th one complete. He's going to have a lot of damage, be able to spam out a lot of goops and Spitfires, but at the cost of having no defense built yet.
Yeah, I actually want to touch on, we see a Broken Myth coming out of snipers as well. He's probably going to want to pierce those Aegises that are being picked up by the side of Rogue, and it looks like there's aggression here.
Yeah, Sniper's getting taken very, very low. Will he drop? The Dragon's Fire comes through, but a good fearsome shade out of Sir Turtlelot is going to save Sniper's life. But now, Rogue might even be able to push some damage on the turret here as this wave comes in. Again, Scarf's so good at taking these turrets. The Spitfire does land on somebody, but Rogue rotating down, takes a little bit of farm, and now Snipers is back, ready to go. Sir Turtlelot and Sniper dropping very, very low. Somebody catches the bad end of a Spitfire there and is going to take some big damage too. And Rogue just not letting up the aggression, and really smart out of them, really abusing what they can out of the Scarf here. Now that he has all of these items online, huge damage on the Snipers, and now Sibs goes in. Pon follows. The turret is going to drop, and now Sniper's running for his life, separated from his team. Will he be able to make it out? Oh man, Pon turns around, gets some damage on somebody, but now the slow coming through a Petal. Will they be able to find anything? War Treads out of the side of Rogue. They're not quite able to close the distance. From House Heart, though, comes out. Will they find it? They do.
Wow.
6th kill going over to Rogue now in a very extended fight there.
Very patient, the side of Rogue. Just waiting there, sticking out in that bush, and now we see the team fight breaking out still.
Yeah, and again, that's really about that Baptiste being such a squishy captain. They find a lot of damage onto him, as well as they're going to find another turret here. but now Snipers is getting a lot of return damage down. 3 offensive items here on this Idris. Pawn does have the Aegis complete. Looks like he might be working into a War Treads of his own, as well as, again, having that additional shield. Has really been able to be a strong member of this Rogue roster. Frontlining, really making the side of Infinity focus him down, and that's really allowed Hammy to get all that free damage. And now that an Aegis is complete for Scarf, this is looking better and better for Rogue as this game goes on.
That's the really interesting and cool thing about Cruel, is that he's not the tankiest of frontline bruisers, but he can sustain really well when you get him into these team fights. As long as he's in there hitting somebody, he's able to get that sustain coming out of his perk from his Spectral Smites, and he can keep distracting the members of Infinity Rebirth to focus him, and then that allows Hammy to get down more damage, get down more broken myth stacks, and just melt these people down.
Yeah, it's been looking really good. Again, the Scarf doesn't really have the same threats going into the pedal that the Krull does, and so Pawn tanking up as much as he has really allowed Hammy to get the damage through, find all those Spitfires, find the Goops, and that's really what they have to do to keep pushing here, but Infinity does come through and tries to get some damage down, but it is Hammy returning some onto Sir Turtlelot. 16 minutes in the game, the Kraken is now available from Hell's Heart, and Shiver Steel are available for this Krull. I just, I don't know if there's much that Infinity can do at this point. The pedal is not going to have the same effect in this game, as they are, you know, falling behind here pretty early on in the game, considering it's a Krull.
Yeah, and oh, there's Hell's Heart landing.
There it is, and with that, somebody is going to trampoline out. The fountain does get used by Sir Turtlelot. The Fearsome Shade does come through, and now Pawn the Original on the bad side of this fight. All 3 members of Infinity collapsing on him. He is going to take Sir Turtlelot with him, but Snipers and somebody are a little bit healthier than the side of Rogue now, but Rogue does have that Fountain and Divine Intervention available to them, so definitely something Rogue could potentially turn around here still if the side of Infinity comes out just a little too far.
Cruel takes the Master of Death to hell with him. That was a really interesting exchange we had there. And it's really fascinating to see the Shiver Steel making quite a resurgence again in the itemizations that we have for these games that we're seeing tonight. We see it here on the Cruel. He's able to slow up his opponent. Same thing on the Vox in the previous couple of games that we saw. It's very interesting to keep your opponents from running and to keep kiting them with your attacks. Even with Cruel, we know that he's typically slow unless he's able to get his Dead Man's Rush out, come out of the shadows, out of the bush with his perk. These are some really good team fights with not a lot of kills, but really objective-based that we're seeing here with this game, Rogue versus Infinity Rebirth.
Yeah, once Rogue finds a kill or 2, they're really able to push the wave pretty heavily with Scarf. Obviously, the objective control that Rogue is able to put out is absolutely huge. Krull does have a second Crucible available, so looking to block out that second Fearsome Shade if it could be timed correctly. This is... Krull is getting so far ahead with only 1 offensive item, though. You know, it's the Breaking Point, and an Infusion is all he has for damage, so really relying on Hammy to get those Spitfires and Goops down accurately and find the damage.
Yeah, that's actually a really fascinating itemization, and it's really working well in this situation. They're able to just go in with these Benedictions, with the Dead Man's Rush, and just keep them there, keep the side of Infinity Rebirth pinned down. Sir Turtlelot, if he's able to, he has the Echo for his Fearsome Shades. He's able to use these effectively, but the thing is that he needs to really land them on the Cruel to get him away, but keep Hammy maybe running into a wall or a turret to be able to capitalize on the Fearsome Shade, and that's what we need to see here as one of the win conditions for Infinity Rebirth.
Yeah, they definitely have to use the ultimate to lock somebody up, but you know, Ordain comes down onto Hammy. He's going to wait out the stun, turns around with the Dragon's Breath, now burning down the enemy team. Sibs is very far in, is going to find the kill onto Sir Turtlelot. Shimmer Strike is used by Idris. He should be able to make it out, but he turns around, gets some good damage on Hammy instead. Crystal Sentry is going to drop. Somebody very, very healthy still is now going to be Rogue trying to set something up here. Spitfire does find Snipers, though, and is going to stop that recall for a bit and waste a bit of his time. So definitely well played so far out of Rogue. Snipers, no armor, just going into the shield, trying to protect himself from Hammy here.
You see, the thing with Cruels from Hell's Heart is that if it's thrown too close to you, it's really hard to block it. And that's what Pon the Original is really doing here, and he's getting on to somebody now.
Yeah, he is. There's a lot of damage there, and, you know, looking over at Snipers with the double shield here, one thing to make note of, because the Krull has only gone into the breaking point for his offense, it will take him some time to build up that weapon power, so most of Krull's damage is actually going to be crystal power from the Dead Man's Rush and the From a Hell's Heart and the Spectral Smite, so going into double shield is really not terrible here, as it will give him that sustain when Krull is on him. He just has to be so careful not to let that breaking point build up. And now, as this fight breaks out, Sibs goes out, stun coming through onto Turtle. The first Fearsome Shade is blocked. The second Fearsome Shade was blocked as well. They do find Snipers. Sibs dropping very, very low here. Hammy getting some good damage on Sir Turtle-Lot. On the Original on somebody. Will it be enough? It doesn't look like it, but they will find Sir Turtle-Lot. And with 45-second death timers, this should, by all means, be a rogue game, even if they don't kill somebody here. It looks like he is going to make it out with the breaking point at 9 stacks. There is some damage potential here, but with only 2 offensive items, it's not going to be enough. That is going to be Rogue taking game number 1 over Infinity Rebirth, and looking to move forward into the second game here shortly and close our night out. Sean, any last comments about that game then?
Wow, really well done to Pon the Original for landing. I feel like he landed 90%, if not 100%, of those from Hell's Hearts, just stunning up Sir Turtle-Lot every time. So he was not able to protect his team with Ordains and Fearsome Shades. That's what I feel won this game. The tankiness of this Cruel, not going down the typical weapon power route, and allowing Hammy to just build those broken myth stacks, kite the enemy team with those Frostburns, and just melt them down. If you look at that, 5 kills and 5 kills for both Pon the Original and Hammy. They really shared a lot of what was going on in these team fights, and I'm looking forward to seeing Game 2.
Yeah, and that is going to be the closeout of Game 1. Pon going with a little bit of an off-meta Krull build, but jumping over to the desk with Dragonborn now, we will be preparing you guys for Game number 2 of Rogue versus Infinity Rebirth.
Well, Rogue showed up to play today. Denominate, that was a pretty clean match. This is in considering the fact that you have Sibs subbing in as a support nonetheless for this first game, and it really didn't look like it phased this team at all. I mean, obviously they've played a lot with Sibs. I think there's synergy there that probably helped immensely. Let's talk a little bit about this. Let's break this down. I mean, you know, Pedal Pick, we talked about, could be really good at the Cruel, but Cruel was kind of just an effective frontline. Look how much defense he built. Almost no damage. He really was not interested in getting that damage on because, you know, he was going to struggle. He was going to take a lot of that attention. He was going to take a lot of that front line. Grace is there to follow up. Grace actually built some CP damage to get, you know, do a little bit more work. It was all about giving Hammy the resources and tools in these fights to be able to poke down and get those kills.
It absolutely was, and I think that was really the smartest route for Rogue there. Obviously, with Infinity Rebirth, going into a double crystal power route, it did make it really easy choice for the side of Rogue what defense they needed to build to be able to sustain. So, you know, pretty impressive plays out of Rogue to take this Krull into the pedal and get away with it.
Yeah, and I think they played it the way they needed to play it. They, you know, understanding you didn't want Cruel to get any, you know, be squishy. You needed him to have that sustain because he was going to get bumped around a little bit. Unfortunately, the Idris never was able to be like extremely effective in this composition where, you know, an Idris normally could be. I think the biggest challenge here is when you've got this Baptiste, we've seen this a couple times, going into the Grace, the Roam Baptiste just doesn't offer the same sustain that you see from the Grace. And a lot of times these fights, they got a little close, but Rogue ultimately edged out in the fights thanks to Grace's divine intervention coming in at the nick of time. Mind you, also Dave, some pretty good holy Novas as well. These fights, we're seeing these Grace players really figure out her kit and apply it. And this is considering Sibs, not your typical support coming in here last second.
Yeah, definitely not a captain main, but again, this is a player that they've played with a lot. He was on the roster for quite a significant amount of time. And just to point out some of the damage in that game, Again, we talked about Hammy being that hyper carry, 36,000 damage. And again, Pon the original just really tanking up that front line, came in at 14,000 damage. So some pretty interesting numbers there just to show how much Hammy was the effectiveness in that fight for the damage and how much Pon was able to soak up from the enemy team.
All right, well, into game number 2, we're going to go Rogue. Switch it over to the B side as we get into the draft. Infinity Rebirth is going to be up first here with this first ban. So we can expect a very consistent ban here, Lyra, Catherine, or Grace. But what we have seen a little bit, we could talk a little bit about this, is that second pick. We've seen teams look to try to go with a stronger flex pick here. Does Rogue keep that trend? Typically, we've seen them really buck drafting trends here as we get into the second, third, and fourth pick.
Yeah, and this is going to be the Grace coming off the table very, very quickly there from Infinity Rebirth. They did ban or use about 15 seconds of their bonus time. But now, if you are Rogue, I think you just take the Catherine off the table. I mean, it's just these, Catherine it's just so strong right now. So she works well into most heroes as well as plays well with most heroes. So just a hugely versatile pick. Obviously, getting the buff to her Captain of the Guard has been huge, and then obviously the Echo changes have been huge. So it is going to be a Lyra going over the side of Infinity Rebirth.
Yeah, A side really benefits from that healer, as we've often seen. This is typically how the drafts play out. Rogue, again, we talked about it, little unconventional, goes with Cruel, bans the Petal, so they do acknowledge that Petal gave him a little bit of a hard time. This likely could be a more aggressive Pon the original into the jungle.
It definitely could, and with the Petal off the board, there's not too many picks that are great into Cruel. You could go with something like a Kashka and try to snowball early. You could go with something like a Skye, who has had her early game brought down a bit, and still around the same in the late game as long as you have a target lock. So that is something that, just with this Cruel being picked so early, we could consider. As well as maybe going into some crowd control would be nice for them. Lance is going to get banned away, though.
Yeah, and I think this is Infinity Rebirth acknowledging that they've taken away all of the good supports. They could take one more away from Rogue. Now, it's not Evol playing. It would be Evol who is that really, really good Lance. So I think Sivs played a little bit of Weapon Lance back in the day. Maybe this is just a way of trying to reduce his comfort picks as a support. But I actually think Rogue's just fine here. They could go with the Rome Baptiste. They actually could go with the Rome Glaive in this scenario if they wanted to try to do something a little bit creative. There's still a lot of options. And one support player we really don't see this hero come out too often is Finn, which is one that, it does offer a lot of value, usefulness with the Cruel. Cruel likes to keep, the heroes close, but that Polite Company paired with the Forced Accord can really help keep the enemy right next to a Cruel, and Celeste comes out as that likely going to be this lane Celeste here for Rogue.
It very likely will be a lane Celeste for Rogue. The Glaive does get locked in for the side of Infinity Rebirth, and we know just how strong Snipers has been on this pick. So definitely a little bit of a comfort zone there for them for the A side. But again, Pon getting on this Crawl and Hammy being on Celeste, this could be a absolutely huge opportunity for them. Again, Glaive, if he dives in, there's going to be a lot of lockdown from Hell's Heart, from the core collapse, and then we obviously still have a final pick here for Rogue. We could go with something like an Arden and try to trap people into a zone where the Heliogenesis can come through.
All right, looks like we might have had a bit of a...
The draft begins.
Yeah, a little bit of a pause here. We're going to have to do a reset, everybody, as...
The draft begins.
Unfortunately, slight bug here in the draft client. We should be able to get this draft wrapped through again very quickly for these teams.
Yeah, it's... we might still have a disconnect on A side. Oh, there it is.
Yeah, just have to now wait for them to go through this quickly. I think they might have just been a little confused what happened. It does happen every once in a while, ladies and gentlemen, so we do apologize for your inconvenience here as a viewer. But essentially, the essence is just to get back into the draft as it was. So we should be getting into this in a second. Wait, but the draft never finished, did it?
No, it didn't.
Okay, yeah. Didn't think so. Oops, that was my mistake. We should be getting through. So we're still waiting for the draft. Draft paused again. Let's see if this... Here we go. I might be having some technical difficulties with the teams trying to be able to finish up this draft. Alright, so as we of course wait for this last pick here, what can we see from Infinity Rebirth? And there we go. Looks like everyone's flying through these picks now, as we've hopefully sorted out these potential issues.
Yeah, we should see a Celeste come out here and then a Glaive, and it looks like in chat they were saying Kestrel was their last pick, so going into the Kroll, that is a little bit risky, but we could see some opportunity here. Obviously some good active camos on a Kroll could be pretty devastating. That stun, just the sheer amount of damage it's able to put out would be really what we need to look for out of this Kestrel. Glaive will be able to reposition the Kroll if he dives in on Kestrel, try to give the obviously that kiting ability back to Kestrel if Kroll gets in. But you know, it's still a super risky pick, especially with the Celeste on the board.
Yeah, so Rogue now with 57 seconds to make their final pick. Essentially unlikely to flex this Kroll as a roam. Arden's going to be that support pick that comes out, and I think, you know, you look at the board, there's not much left there for them to pull from the support pool. But looks like that should be set. Now Giraffe's good. And, you know, I look at these compositions from Rogue, and I'm actually kind of surprised because, you know, it's not bad. We know that obviously Pod the Original could play with the Cruel, but you look over at Infinity Rebirth, and really they have the stronger draft of this game. But can they execute it, Dave?
Yeah, executing is going to be the huge part. Obviously, there's a lot of combo potential out of the Glaive and the Kestrel. It's just a little difficult to pull off if you're not on a coordinated level with your teammates. So there is potential from this team, but they have to play it correctly. And it looks like actually we have Evol coming into game number 3 here. Or game number 2 here, sorry.
Yeah, so we are going to get Evol back into this matchup. There are definitely some issues with getting Evol to game number 1. He had an emergency he had to take care of. That looks like that might have been sorted out, so we should be able to get Evol into this matchup. And this is actually, you know, the Rogue is definitely better with Evol. And so if Infinity Birth really couldn't chink through their armor in game number 1, I'm going to be surprised if they could do it for game number 2 here. That being said, I do like their draft better than Rogue. I think Rogue's got the mechanical skills to win this game regardless, but I do feel like we've seen this Crystal Kestrel has been absolutely insane, really, really hard to go up against, and of course Lane Glaive has also been a very strong pick throughout this update.
Yeah, it definitely has been. And again, Snipers has been one that really had a huge performance on the hero for the side of Infinity. So it'll be interesting to see if he's able to pull it off into this Krull Celeste Arden combination, which, you know, again, Rogue getting Evol back is absolutely huge for them.
It really is. Hopefully he can play 100%. Coming off the bench a little bit cold here. But, you know, no doubt about it. This guy has been probably one of the best supports. Probably top 4, if not greater, as far as support play is concerned. The guy has been respected and renowned across the entire competitive scene. And I love watching the guy play as well. So it's sad not to see him be competing live on stage at Live Championship, because he really is an incredible talent.
He absolutely is, and as we get into this game, Dragon, I am excited to see Snipers on this Glaive. He's had such great performances on it. I'm just a little worried about the coordination here with the Kestrel. We obviously have to play around those active camos.
Well, no doubt, this is definitely going to be Infinity Birth's best draft. I mean, this is their comfort picks. So we're getting into the game. I'm going to kick it over to our casters. This could be the final game, everybody, as we jump into it. Denominate and Sean Ostino, take it away.
Alrighty, Sean. Getting into game number 3 here. We have Infinity Rebirth on something that's a little more comfortable for them, something we've seen them play and do well on. But Rogue, obviously getting pawn on this curl is not something that you have to take lightly, as this is one of his better heroes. So definitely going to be an interesting game, especially with the tankiness that Arden is going to help him provide with that barrier.
Yeah, I wonder if Cruel is going to be going the same route with his itemizations, but I'm thinking not. He is going to be in the jungle. He's already starting off with his weapon blade here, so we'll see what comes of the game. But I feel like Sir Turtlelot could have a little bit more of guarding potential with her team now. Sir Turtlelot can just throw down those bulwarks, stop some of those dead man's rushes from coming in, and that's what I think is going to help them get to one of their win conditions for this game.
Yeah, we definitely have to have the appropriate use of that bulwark, as it is such a great disengage tool, as well as can be used as an engage tool if you use it on the back of an arcane passage. It can prevent the gauntlet coming out of Evol, as well as the Vanguard and the Blood for Blood. And then obviously we know the effect it can have onto Krull, who wants to stick onto targets to build that damage up. But Pawn looking to be pretty sneaky here. Will he find anything? He does get 2 of the camps. And that is now going to be Pawn very likely finishing off a kill here.
Oh.
Somebody not going to make it into the Imperial Sigil. And that is not what you want to be giving over to Pawn's Krull early on in the game.
No, that was somebody that I used to know and having to respawn. But looks like there's a little bit of engage here in that mustache bush, and Rogue is gonna have to. They're gonna disengage, but it's okay because they stole some of those rear jungle camps, and now we see an 11 CS lead, or sorry, 3 CS lead for that 11 for Pawn the original over 8 for somebody. Cruel really, I'd like to see him landing more of those Hell's Hearts. Oh, and somebody's getting caught out again.
Somebody is getting caught out, and this Crystal Kestrel, especially early on in the game, just when you take damage, you are all of a sudden vulnerable to all sorts of everything the enemy team wants to throw at you because you're not able to use that active camo. And the Bright Bulwark is going to force Pawn back a little bit, but might be waiting for this middle treant here. And Hammy doing a good job trying to get this lane pushed up before Glaive can return. I don't know if he's going to be quite quick enough to really lose out on much. But with no energy, Hammy is now in a position that he has to take off. And Pawn stealing away some additional farm there. 1,800 gold in his pocket, and Rogue is starting up the Elder Treant now.
They are, and it looks like there's that Bright Bulwark coming down again defensively, and it was pretty good. It warded off Rogue, but it looks like we see Pawn the original playing aggressive, just like he was in the last game, and he's just going to keep tanking up the damage and providing a really good front line here for Rogue.
Yeah, and somebody is going to drop again. The Celeste, once you get engaged on it, is so difficult to make it out, especially when your boots are already burned on a 40-second cooldown still. Hammy taking a lot of damage in the lane, might actually drop. He does. Snipers finds a kill for his team. But, that is a 1-3 lead now for the side of Rogue, as well as obviously getting that first blood was absolutely huge. And Evol looking to get some damage down onto Snipers here.
What Snipers needs to do as his Glaive is he's really got to be diving in after that Celeste and using his afterburns effectively. Oh, and punting just like that right there with Evol.
Yeah, and that was a pretty good setup there. Evol did get caught a little too far out. And that is going to result in a second kill now for the side of Infinity Rebirth. And, getting him onto Glaive is definitely, definitely a better situation than getting him onto Sir Turtlelot, who has the fountain now complete 4 minutes into the game. Evol as well has his fountain ready to go. So it's going to be interesting to see just how they do this going forward. Pawn looks like he's working into that breaking point again as he gets a little bit of damage down onto Snipers, but not quite enough to get a kill. Here we go, though. Good core collapse coming out of Hammy here on Celeste. Is able to stun up the glaive, and it ends up being Pon the original finding the kill on that one. And they're not done. They're going in on Sir Turtle now. Will it be enough? One attack. The Spectral Smite does come through. A couple turret shots come through onto Pon. But now as somebody does rotate up, he is looking to get some return damage. It's not going to be quite enough. And just like that, the turret is dropped now. Pon punted back into the fight. Is going to get blown up very quickly there. Somebody dangerously low in health and energy. Snipers getting chunked out a little bit by these Heliogenesis. Sean, this game has been going pretty good for the side of Rogue here. Unfortunately, Pon did drop, but you know, not without finding some return kills of their own. Yeah, and Afterburn comes through onto Hammy, dropping him very low. But now it's Snipers taking turret shots that's getting dropped. Sir Turtlelot took a couple shots as well. Will they be able to make it out? Here comes Pon, not quite level 6 from Hell's Heart is not available. And it looks like Pon is not going to let the aggression up, though. He is going to find a kill onto Snipers as the Afterburn comes up, and might be able to find some additional gold in his pocket now as well. No, it is going to go over to somebody, though.
Wow, really good patience coming out upon the original, waiting in the tri-bush just at the edge so he can get his perk. The Dead Man's Rush coming out of the bush, and he was able to find a kill. I feel like this is the trend that Rogue is pulling out of these games here. They're finding patience, waiting in bushes. They're able to win these team fights, rotate down, steal some gold and experience, and just continue their march onward.
Yeah, these fights have been pretty back and forth, but that first turret being down for Rogue is absolutely huge. That objective control is obviously something to look forward to from them. The Frostburn complete for Hammy to help get some of that crowd control, that utility slow for the team, as well as working into the Eve of Harvest to get some of the energy regeneration to help him spam out those Heliogenesis. Somebody has completed the Shatterglass, and Pon, the original, sitting here on the back. Will he find anything? He does find some damage onto somebody. Is it enough, though? It is. The kill is going to be credited to Hammy. Wow. The kill onto the Lyra will be credited to Hammy as well. Now Pon chasing down Snipers. Will he have the damage, though? Not quite. A couple, 1, 2, maybe 3 basic attacks there. Pon would have been able to find that kill. Isn't going to happen, though, and now Rogue turns their attention on the Kraken. Hammy very low, Pon very low on energy. Hammy needs to be careful here as an Afterburn absolutely dangerous for him. And now here comes the side of Infinity Rebirth. They get a couple hits down, but one shot, one kill is going to clip E-Ball. It is not going to find Hammy, and just like that, Rogue takes turret number 2 in game number 2, as well as a 2,500 gold lead in their pockets.
Really good body block coming out of Evil, taking the hit for Hammy. We know that Celeste is really squishy, so she could have went down from that one shot, one kill. But looks like there's a siege coming onto this turret here from Infinity Rebirth.
Gauntlet coming out of Evil, though, is going to trap them in. Sniper's taking a lot of damage. Is it going to be enough? Somebody dropping dangerously low. It is going to be Hammy finding that one. Core Collapse misses, and now Snipers is on to Hammy. Arcane Passage taken backwards. Solar Storm does come through and falls a little bit shy of its target. And now, with the help of Lyra, Snipers should be able to make it out pretty safely. But it's a 9-3 game for Rogue. Almost 3,000 gold lead. May even turn their attention here on the gold mine. We just have to make very, very good note that Hammy is incredibly low in energy right now, and so is Pon. So if Infinity Rebirth does see this and makes it over here, they could potentially have a pretty safe steal attempt.
Yeah, there's not going to be enough time, I don't think, for a steal attempt. Oh, yep, that goes over to Rogue. And Pon the original sitting on enough gold so he can actually go back and probably buy that breaking point. It looks like we're going to be potentially getting the same itemization coming out of this game, except he may not be getting an Aegis because we don't have double CP coming out of Infinity Reborn. But it's probably going to be a repeat a little bit of last game. Pon the original actually just is continuing to farm over there in his backs. He's not buying yet. He's sitting on 2,000 gold. One shot, one kill. Doesn't quite connect with anybody. And it looks like Rogue's doing a bit of their rotations down to pick up some items.
Yeah, and again, Rogue doing a great job on the objective control. And Pon obviously will probably go into that Aegis to try to be that frontline hero with Evol, try to make sure that none of those Glimmer shots find any damage onto Hammy. But somebody sitting on just a Shatterglass right now is a little bit behind in his itemization. But this is going to be Pon. The original does pick up that breaking point and picks up that Aegis. So, again, that reflex block available through the Aegis, obviously. And then we also have the prevented damage that it blocks based on your missing health. Sniper's taking a couple poke shots here. Somebody trying to return some of his own. Not quite finding the damage they wanted to on Rogue, though. And just like that, Rogue is rotating back up into the lane. One shot, one kill is going to miss. But Pon, the original, taking a couple ticklish attacks here from Lyra.
Yeah, ticklish attack.
That's the game.
Yeah, he's got that Aegis, and he's picked himself up a light armor as well, so he's able to tank these things a little bit better than he would have early game. Gauntlet comes down.
Gauntlet comes down. It is going to be enough to find somebody off the back of that Solar Storm. Lyra is not far behind. A good From Hell's Heart comes through onto Snipers. Will he make it out? And Afterburn says, yes, I will. And that is going to be Rogue forced to turn their attention back here onto this turret, which if they can take down a choke point turret in 11 minutes, that would be looking really good for the side of Rogue, as they're getting this Krull pretty sizably ahead. We are down on CS, but the obviously the objective control making up for well more than enough of that CS.
Really good objective control coming out of the side of Rogue, and their net worth for their gold is actually up close to 4,000 gold, so it's a sizable lead. It's noticeable, but if they're just going to keep rotating down here through the jungle, stealing away farm and experience from Infinity Rebirth. We do see that breaking point now on Pon the original. Contraption's actually been built as well on Evil, so he's going to be able to get some good vision down. Doesn't quite have it yet. Looks like Hammy's building towards Broken Myth, so she's going to be able to. He's going to be able to poke really well with this Celeste, and there's an engage.
There is indeed. It is going to be Lyra dropping very early. Now they turn their attention on the Snipers, and they are going to find him. Will Evol be able to jump over the wall here? Not quite in range. Will we be able to find the kill? And there it is, Pon the original onto somebody. And now Hammy rotating down to try to help his team. Core Collapse comes through. The blind Core Collapse is going to stun up somebody and help secure a kill for the team. And just like that, it's another ace going over to the side of Rogue.
It was blind, but it was a pretty narrow passage there. So Hammy was able to get off a really good Core Collapse. Very well played. And somebody was just running for his life. There's so many flares coming out of Evil. That's the kind of vision that we need to see Rogue continue to have and continue to pressure somebody into making some mistakes. And that's one of their win conditions for this game. Celeste, as you know with CP Celeste, she has a lot of active camo. She can do it very, very easily. But if you keep flares and mines out, scout traps out everywhere, she's dead.
Yeah, can't make it very difficult, but we got a fight breaking out. Gauntlet is down. Solar Storm passes through the team of Infinity Rebirth. They are going to find the Kestrel there on the backline. Somebody drops, and now Hammy chasing down Snipers. He is going to find that kill. Will Pon be able to find Sir Turtle-Hat? Does not look like it, but they are going to get this Crystal Sentry. Very likely might turn their attention towards pushing this lane up and then turning onto the gold mine. And that does appear to be what they're going to do. 6,000 gold lead for the side of Rogue. Kraken will be on the board in about a minute and a half. But overall, Rogue has just been looking so aggressive and, just doing a great job overall with their synergy. They're chaining up a lot of stuns, splitting up appropriately when they need to. If one person's not going to be able to catch up to a kill, they don't waste their time. They just jump on to the next closest target, get the damage flowing. And Rogue looking really impressive right now. 2 turrets stand between them and a 2-0 victory over Infinity Rebirth.
From Hell's Heart, from Hell's Heart in the last fight actually was boomeranged backwards and it got a really good stun on somebody, stunning up that Kestrel, the big carry damage dealer for the side of Infinity Rebirth. Very, very important in that last team fight. And it looks like Rogue just going to continue to aggress. It looks like they chased Infinity Rebirth into the base, but they're coming back and they're just going to keep the pressure on, hanging out in these jungle bushes.
Yeah, Rogue is definitely waiting to make something happen, but a good flare coming out of Sir Turtle-Out is going to spot out that Krull. Glaive does have the Sorrow Blade, Tension Bow, Poison Shift completed, as well as a level 12 Infusion now popped. But, looking over at the enemy side, Pond the Original sitting on level 10 here. Not quite as far ahead as the fights may have seemed, but again, Rogue just looking really good. From Hell's Heart comes through onto somebody. They're finding a lot of damage. Is it enough? Somebody is going to drop, and now Sir Turtlelot on the wrong side of a really bad situation will very likely be not long to follow. And just like that, 15 minutes into this game, we have a 18-3 lead for Rogue, and they are pushing in this turret, and with Celeste, they should be able to do so pretty easily.
Nice afterburn coming out, but it's still not enough to keep that turret alive. And it looks like Snipers is just going to have to wait for his teammates to respawn. There's only one turret standing between Rogue and victory tonight. Ooh, one shot, one kill connects a little bit. Snipers going really low.
Yes, Turtlelot is going to have to recall as well, and now Snipers on the back foot does block out the Solar Storm with the reflex block, so keeping him alive is absolutely huge here. And now, somebody takes a lot of damage from these Heliogenesis, but Hammy, so low on energy, is going to have to recall. Sean, we do have also... Oh, the Bulwark! Oh no! Oh no, this is a huge opportunity for Rebirth. Hammy's dropped so low, Evol's dropped so low, the Fountain comes out. There's just not quite the energy here on the Celeste, but Pond the Original on the backline finds somebody. It is going to be Snipers that finds out this Glaive, and now as the two members of Rogue start turning their attention on the Snipers, they very likely could find out a double kill here. They do turn on to Sir Turtlelot. The Scout Trap bringing Snipers so low. We have 10 seconds to clean up an ace here. On the Original, one more basic attack should do, maybe two more. There it is, and that is an ace going over to the side of Rogue as somebody was only a few seconds away from stepping off of this map.
Yeah, it looks like Pond the Original started up Kraken here. Pretty smart move as opposed to pushing the base right now. Somebody is hanging out in the base and taking down these ace buffed minions that are going to be pushing the turret. One shot, one kill comes out. And this Kraken is going very low.
Kraken taken very quickly by the side of Rogue, and with only one turret standing between them and a victory, it's going to be very difficult, especially with the way the fights have been going for the side of Infinity Rebirth, to come back from this. Hammy obviously going to be able to poke from range with the Heliogenesis, and Kestrel. Unfortunately, that Kraken is basically a big old body blocker for your team, and it's a little difficult, but we got to engage coming out of Infinity Rebirth here. A desperation attempt. Will it be enough? Gauntlet comes through. They're able to find some good damage. Hammy getting a good Solar Storm off. 1, 2, 3 kills going over to Rogue. And just like that, Rogue takes the game 2-0 and will be moving on to the semifinals of the VIS Pro Series.
Whoa, doggy! Pond the Original with these Breaking Point Shiver Steel builds coming out of this Cruel. These awesome godly boomerang from Hell's Hearts. This is what has really won them the game. 15 kills on him, a lot of poke damage coming out of Hammy, able to maintain that distance and continuous damage from these Helios, Supernovas, and the Solar Storms. What a game. I had a great time watching and casting this Denominate.
Yeah, it was pretty exciting, but to help us close out tonight, we will be jumping over with Dragonborn off the back of that very impressive Rogue victory here.
Yeah, Rogue has looked anything short of perfect these games here in VIS Pro. Coming off the round of 16, looking flawless, and then storming through here, Infinity Rebirth. This is the team that played phenomenally into Misfits, giving them such a hard time, but not for Rogue. Absolutely not. This team prepared. Even when they brought in the sub, they still looked poised. But then, of course, Evol showing up. These guys, hey, they're a Vainglory A team for a reason. Definitely earning that right. And, of course, they are now looking at going to the semifinals. They'll be playing on Friday. So we've actually concluded our quarterfinals, and let's take a few moments to nominate to just kind of break down what that means as we take a look. Of course, starting off with the bracket for this group, and we're going to see as we update it, of course, that is going to be Rogue moving on And now we're going to get into the semifinals. So this could be a little different than normal Denominate, as semifinals will actually be taking place over 2 days. Starting tomorrow, we'll do the semifinals of Immortals versus Echo Fox, and it's going to be a best of 5. That's right, one stream, best of 5. You're not going to miss it. Best team's going to go to the finals. And then over on Friday, we will have Necrolite facing off against Rogue in their best of 5 semifinals. The winner of those games will be playing on Saturday for the grand finals. Winner takes all. $1,500 on the line. You guys are not going to miss this. It's going to be absolutely exciting. These games, I mean, these teams really are the best teams here in all of Vainglory during this quick 2.7 summer season update. And I'm looking forward to it, Denominate. I know you are as well.
Absolutely looking forward to see how these teams are able to progress going forward. Obviously, Necrolite moving on, going up against Rogue will be a fun matchup. But then obviously, again, on the other side of the bracket, we do have Immortals, obviously that #1 seed team who's been such a powerhouse lately and actually did come up from the last seed in the VG8 to secure their spot. The #4 seed going into the live Unified Championships. So definitely a contender we have to keep our eye on going into the rest of the VIS Pro.
All right, we absolutely will. With that, though, guys, we are done for tonight. We'll be back here tomorrow. You guys aren't going to miss it. Semifinals start, and they're going to be a lot of fun. So make sure you guys hit the follow and keep an eye on Twitter. We'll be announcing when we go live, of course, there, and be here. We'll actually be starting the stream same time as always at 6 p.m. Pacific. So until tomorrow, we'll see you guys later, and you guys all have a good night.